What's going on, fellow A-Plusters? It is I, your host, as always, Adam Perez, back once again with a brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC, television, and movie news, streaming live for you guys today over on our YouTube page. You can also catch us over on Facebook Live right now, as well as Twitch for you gamers. And listen, if you listen to us over on Spotify, we will be dropping this episode for you guys. If not later on tonight, then definitely first thing tomorrow morning. We are on Spotify, so if you want to follow us there for you audio listeners, and Spotify does now do video as well. There is a link down below, guys, so definitely go ahead and show your love for us. But happy Sunday. We're here to certainly go ahead and wrap up your weekend as we're doing this on a Sunday night. But it's not just myself. That's right. We got the whole council here today. Our round table of nerds, good old Stuart Branscombe and Indy Uchiha. Fellas, I'm really glad that all three of you guys turned out today, man.
Always glad to be here.
It should be their pleasure. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a lot going on today. You better be lucky that I like this fan base and that I want to be here.
Oh, God. The anti-hero over here. You trying to be Mr. Heel today?
Of course, because my honorable mention.
Oh, all right. All right. We'll definitely tee that one up for you here in a little bit. But what you guys been up to this week, man? Everybody doing well over there, as well as you possibly can be, I should say?
Oh, yeah. 4th of July weekend, hanging
right.
out with my family. And some of them I haven't seen in quite a bit. So it's been great up here.
Yeah, these months kind of just fly by for me, man. I feel like I need a calendar because, yeah, it's like 2 days away. I'm not even prepared myself. But what about you, Andy? You doing all right over there? You got a concert coming up right in August?
August 5th, Underground Music Fest in Hobart, Indiana, at the Hobart Art Theater. With Al Coleon and some others. Yeah. Let me not say the last, it's one of the very last. It might be one more if I decide to hook up with Miss Keisha Cautious at Ear Hustling Entertainment, but it's one of maybe the two last performances I will have in Indiana as we start winding down this musical venture that we do.
Oh, wow. You're still gonna be performing though, right? But just not maybe in that area?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh. So it's like career, you're not sure if you're going to continue the music thing?
Mm-hmm. Well, it all depends if people like Marcelino actually go stream the music or not.
Hey, go stream Indy Uchiha's music. Where can they find you on Spotify? Is it under Indy?
Under Indy Uchiha. Indy Uchiha everywhere. You search Indy Uchiha, it pops up.
All right, go ahead and support this man's music. Let's hit some like buttons over there and some followers for sure.
And share it on your social medias.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But everybody, thank you so much for certainly joining us here this Sunday. Let's give some shout outs to the people that did join us today. We got good old Blossom in the house. Thank you so much for certainly coming through. Ram Jam, good to see you, Ram Jam. Hope you got a chance to catch some movies this week. We got Enrique Perez here. Said, I just saw the Anime Expo 2023 One Piece live action first look with the cast, and it announced that the Japanese voice actors from the anime will reprise their roles. Can't wait to see it. Oh, they had a first look. I wonder if that's dropped anywhere. I haven't been online really much since maybe about 4 hours ago, so I'm not quite sure what they've dropped yet. Good old Marcelino certainly in the house as well. Thank you very much, Marcelino. And Frankie, what's up, Frankie? Happy pre-4th of July. Yeah, happy early 4th to everybody wherever you are this weekend. I hope you guys be safe, responsible, and just have a good time, man. Enjoy your time with some friends and family. But you know what, guys, let's go ahead and get into some honorable mentions. For those of you who don't know, if this is your first time here at the show, we usually do shout outs, honorable mentions. After that, we'll definitely go ahead and get into our 6 main topics for you guys today. And then to wrap up our show, we've got live viewer questions. So yeah, if you guys have any honorable mentions, hit me with them. What you guys got today? What up, Lawrence? What up, Lawrence? Good to see you,
on me?
Whoever. Anybody?
Hold on,
Indy, you go first. I gotta look through some stuff because
you guys are looking.
had something I wanted to bring up. I just can't remember what it was.
What you got?
My thing is, you guys know how I have nothing really to review. You know what I'm saying?
and you got Secret Invasion. What are you talking about?
That's only 6 episodes. After these 6 episodes, what I'm going to review. You know, like I'm getting pretty worn out here, but thanks to the amazing the Lord and Savior himself, Stephen Amell, the Hills season 2 trailer dropped.
Yeah,
I am so geeked about this. We got Hills coming Friday, July 28th at midnight on the Stars app. I love Stephen Amell. I love Alexander Ludwig. This would be amazing. The first season was top notch. If you guys followed us, we did review it here. That was the review that I actually dropped on time every week.
Yeah, bro, you were definitely on time with that every week. You weren't playing around.
So I'm really geeked about that. If you haven't seen the trailer is amazing. We got to see some highlights we got to see some CM Punk.
He's in
reprising his role. Not just him, but also AJ Lee, his wife, Mrs. Punk, is also in this season.
AJ Styles for a second. I was like, oh shit.
No, the real AJ is in this show. not that poser. AJ Lee is in the show along with a bunch of other cameos. The storyline looks really, really dope. And this is probably the show that I'm most excited about coming back.
Yeah, man, I can't wait for you to that definitely have that up on our to-do list, if you will, this season. Heel season 2. A lot of people were definitely talking about it after the first season for sure. But I'll just put this up here for you, Indy, so you can gush about Stephen Amell a little bit more.
Oh, he is so handsome.
Guys, go ahead and check out Heels if you haven't had the opportunity to. Season 2 is set to go ahead and drop. That's a good great honorable mention, man. I did see like some one of the stars from Heels. I'm trying to remember where I've seen her from before. I think she did like a little featurette though, kind of introducing the trailer itself. I didn't get a chance to see the trailer, but I'm definitely gonna check it out.
Because I think she's the champion right now. I think that's how the first season ended. She's
where have I seen her before? Where's that actress from before?
It doesn't matter. It's not Steven. If Steven isn't in this show, it's not a show.
You don't even care. I got you.
I don't care. I just like to see Stephen Amell with a shirt off.
So one Secret Invasion.
Shirt off, salmon ladder.
That's the salmon ladder's all Indy needs. Once Secret Invasion wraps up, you'll definitely be moving over to Heels to go ahead and drop those reviews. So a lot of content continuing to head your guys' way. What you got for us, Stuart? You got one for us? Honorable mention? Did you find it?
I can't remember if you brought this up last week, so definitely let me know.
Go for it, bro.
But Superman and Lois season 4 being renewed for another season, also having a huge drop in the cast going forward too. So very curious to see how it all turns out. We know that this season ended on a really big cliffhanger, so I'm really curious to see what it's going to look like when we go into next season. 10 of the cast members gone. Very likely they may even be like in a whole new location. Like people are probably theorizing that for this to make sense, that they probably moved to Metropolis or something like that.
Keep that up, Indy. But Stuart, I do think that we did. I did think that we did bring that up last week. But Indy, you weren't here for us. You weren't here for that, were you?
I was. I potted last. Was that a live viewer question? Because we bought off the cast dropping. We didn't bring up because the season finale hadn't aired. I think this is a different look on the same conversation because it seems a bit more important now with the way the season ended.
Because I thought I do think I remember you mentioning that. But how do you feel now how do you feel about that now that the season has ended? Has it changed your mind?
No, because I really. Oh, you talking to me? You talking to him?
I was talking to Stuart, but I get both of your points of views. Yeah,
both
definitely. It's Stuart first, and then I'll get you, Indy.
I mean, to me, it just feels like you're going to have a completely different show altogether. Like it may not even be the same one. And I'm very curious how the ending of the season is even going to tie into it, because it's not like a cliffhanger, like it's setting something up to happen next time. I mean, it literally just ends in the middle of a fight. So how do you, and so like, my question is like, how do you go from that to suddenly start episode 1 with a completely different status quo, unless like that's the episode you have like all the cast members making a guest appearance in. I'm just really curious how they're going to transition. Basically,
they're going to do a Game of Thrones like. I don't.
In which sense?
Badly, I'm thinking.
You're thinking it's not going to go smoothly at all.
No, I'm gonna give it to them and see what they're gonna do with that. But I don't know. I really feel like a lot of the cast members that they got rid of were really important to the show to start off with, or the dynamics of relationships with other characters. So I don't know how they're gonna deal with the drama and emotion of the show without having the people that are close and being affected by what's going on.
Yeah, that's kind of like my major thought too. Like you'll still have a little bit of the family drama. You'll definitely have a lot of Superman, but like, what about the other drama? Because that was like 80% of Superman and Lois.
Right.
So that's crazy. So the episode ended in the middle of a fight.
Yeah. It just ended. It ended. It ended worse than Krypton.
Oh,
like,
no.
I think, okay, here's what I think happened. I'll get a little more into this tomorrow when I review the episode itself. I'm going to be doing like a live stream. So any of you guys that want to join me and ask me some questions or, comment on some of my thoughts, you'll be more than welcome to. So, but my theory is they thought for sure they were going to get canceled this season, and they really wanted to have their take on Lex Luthor and Doomsday before the show ended. So I think that they basically cut the season shorter by like ending the Bruno Mannheim stuff like 2 episodes early, just so they could squeeze in Lex and Doomsday. That's what I think happened personally.
I mean, you definitely might be right. That would be pretty interesting if they thought they were going to get canceled, and that's why they ended it. It does make me think that now, if they ended it that way, it feels like it's definitely going to be a continuation of that story, and that might end up being maybe like the main story, and then maybe one side story to accompany that the remainder of the season. So I can see that idea of like them really cutting back people, because it almost feels like, not to say that the other aspects of the storylines were like filler or anything like that, but it seems like it's maybe mainly focused on one particular plot and then maybe a side person here or there, type of thing.
Yeah.
So we'll see, man. But that's fascinating to me. I can't wait to hear about it, Stuart, when you talk about it. So yeah, guys, definitely join Stuart tomorrow live as he goes ahead and reviews that season and episode. And bring up Datila real quick, because I want to acknowledge her too. Click to bring that. She said, thank you very much for the super chat, Datila, for certainly supporting the channel that way. If you guys do want to support the channel, feel free to go ahead and throw in a super chat. We'll definitely bring yours up first to go ahead and comment and talk about it. I acknowledge you, Adam Perez. I guess I got too cocky and you humbled me. Listen, if you guys missed our Money in the Bank predictions, I'm pretty much whooped her, man. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna get a little cocky here myself. I got a six out of 7 right. So I had a 6-1 record. I think she had a 4-3 record. I got more confidence points also. So yeah, man. I got to take back that crown. Thank you so much, Datila, for acknowledging me. She even acknowledges me at the end of her Money in the Bank review. So if you guys haven't checked out her thoughts on the Money in the Bank review, it is currently up on our YouTube channel. So certainly go ahead and do so. As it was a pretty awesome event last night. Let's see here. What other honorable mentions we got? Enrique says tickets for the Haunted Mansion are on sale now. I did see a trailer for that when I went and saw Indiana Jones this week. Also, if you guys have checked, I did drop a non-spoiler review for you guys out there for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. If you want to get an idea as to whether or not you should check it out, get my grade on it. I did go ahead and drop that in another video. Have you fellas got a chance to see Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny yet?
Yeah.
Anybody?
It came out.
Clearly India's not. Have you have any intentions of seeing it? Are you an Indiana Jones fan like that? India don't really care for the character so much, or what?
I think my boycott of the Flash was so hard that I forgot any other movies were coming out. I was just so anti Ezra Miller that I forgot about everything else. So and yes, I am championing how bad that movie is doing in the theaters. So
why are you championing it?
Yes.
Why?
Yes. Hashtag not my Flash.
I'm sorry. I thought you meant Indiana Jones. It's like, what?
No.
Okay, I get you.
Indiana Jones is probably like those movies. I've never watched the Indiana Jones movie in the theater. My first one I saw with my stepfather sitting at home eating popcorn and stuff like that. So I think I just enjoy those movies more in the comfort of my own home. So
I get that.
That's probably how I watch it.
What about you, Stuart? What'd you think of the movie?
Oh, I thought it was fun. I think like my only nitpick was like with his goddaughter. I liked what they were going for with them starting her off kind of similar to how Indy was, and cute little kitty. I like that she started exactly the same way like Indy was in Temple of Doom, the whole riches and glory attitude. But then when she has kind of that like 180 and she becomes more like, Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Last Crusade, I feel like there was just nothing. She didn't have an epiphany moment that made her like kind of go into that direction. hi. It kind of felt like it happened out of nowhere, and it just didn't happen like organically. It just kind of like happened, So I think like her character could have been written just a little bit better. But other than that, I thought it was a fun movie. Probably I liked it more than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but of course, didn't quite live up to the level of the original trilogy.
It was missing Shia.
Oh God. I actually really enjoyed how they addressed that in the movie. I don't want to get too spoilerish because maybe you and I could do a side spoiler review on Indiana Jones. But I did like how they addressed the whole Shia thing, and actually got kind of emotional at moments in the movie. I was kind of surprised by it. If you had to grade this movie, though, Stuart, what would you grade it?
Solid C.
Okay, nice. I was maybe more generous than you. I graded it a B, but I totally get it. There were definitely moments of lulls, I think, where sometimes it maybe dragged or felt a little bit too slow at times. But the fun adventure times were definitely there for me, and I definitely had an enjoyable time. So I'm glad that you checked out the movie. Would you recommend it for people?
Yeah, if you have interest in seeing it, go for it. I guess if it's not a movie you were super excited about, like if you haven't seen any of the Indiana Jones movies, I'd say maybe don't let this one be the first one you see.
Yeah, amen to that for sure.
You definitely sold me on it. I want to go see myself be about riches and fame, so I'm definitely gonna check it out.
Awesome. And quick honorable mentions on my end. The Boys season 4 has been delayed.
No.
Yeah, The Boys season 4 was set to go ahead and drop this summer, actually, but due to the writer's strike, they have in fact pushed it back. I don't know if they've given a new release date as of yet. It's just kind of a wait and see. But Boys season 4 is pushed out even further. I think the showrunner mentioned the idea that while it is set, I don't think that they finished all the ADR work yet on all the episodes, and they still have the potential of doing like rewrites and things like that in dialogue, which I found pretty interesting. And then having to record those lines and stuff. So I guess they're still saying it's still a work in progress. And so yeah, Boys season 4 delayed due to the strike. So I apologize, Indy. I know you had a massive heart attack on screen just now. So
yeah, I'm really upset about that, but that's all because of one of the stars of the show is getting ready to go be Batman.
Yeah, I heard those rumors too. I would love to see him finally be Batman.
Jensen Ackles.
He was like, I wanted to be Batman on Batwoman. I wanted to be Batman on Gotham Knights. But it's like, okay, it's a good thing he waited because now he gets to be Batman in the movies.
We'll see. They haven't made anything confirmed.
If it happens,
yeah. But I will say it's funny you say that because James Gunn this week did come out and state, now that we've, because we're going to be talking about here the Superman stuff. Now that that's been cast, he did say it's going to be a while before they cast a Batman. I have no idea when even Brave and the Bold comes out, but if this movie's coming out in 2005 and they're doing casting now, when would you assume that they would maybe cast for Batman? Or do you think they're going to do that quicker than he's letting on?
I'm assuming. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm assuming that Jensen Ackles forever going to look like he's 30 years old. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when they cast him because that man is literally, he might be the second most gorgeous man on this planet next to Stephen Amell.
What if they casted Stephen Amell as Batman? Because, I mean, the people who wrote Arrow originally wanted to do a Batman show.
Oh, shit. That'd be pretty crazy. So we'll see. I am kind of curious. I feel like we're probably like another 2 years away from a Batman being cast, but who knows? That could easily be a lot sooner. For all I
think 2026 is when they're going to announce the Batman cast. I think Brave and the Bold will come out 2027, and they're going to announce it 2026.
We'll definitely have to see.
I think they'll pull a Marvel and they'll announce it tomorrow, and then we'll just wait 5 years for the movie to come out.
You're on to something, Indy.
I feel like also on top of that, do you really want to announce like who the next Batman is going to be before the Batman 2 comes out?
Yes.
Yeah, no.
Yes.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yes.
You think they will?
Yes. You hold up. You don't think, now be honest with you, you don't think if they announce somebody like Jensen Ackles as being Batman, even though the Batman 2 come out, that will kill Robert Pattinson's whole
It would not. It would not. No way. Ain't no way. Robert Pattinson movie has won over a ton of people. They haven't even seen anything from Jensen Ackles yet.
You cast Jensen. You don't have to. Soldier Boy. All you have to do is go back.
Why would you want to do that though?
All you have to do is just go back and just you say one name, Supernatural.
Or say the coach that used to sleep with his students from Smallville.
Yes. or Days of Our Lives. He has a plethora of fans out there.
No, I'm sure it's not denting no Robert Pattinson right now. The man is on a high right now, and a lot of people are looking forward to.
He will kill Robert Pattinson. We don't do sparkly vampires over here when it comes to
please. That's not what you. That is not what you thought about the first Batman. That is not what you thought about Batman when you talked about it. Don't.
The Winchesters kill sparkly vampires.
You love the Batman. Oh, please stop. Anyway, all right, let's go. All right, next honorable mention. Mortal Kombat 2 has begun. Filming has begun for Mortal Kombat 2. I think I saw Judy Lin along with the director of this movie dropping this. So filming has begun. What else we got? Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon. The Daryl Dixon spinoff, y'all. They actually had a little brief sneak peek. Indy or Stuart, did any of you guys catch this or not? I think we dropped this on that Facebook page.
Yeah, I did, and I hate that font.
Me too. I'm like, man, you had all this time to come up with the logo. Like, why is that the font for your show?
I can tell you one thing. That tease they showed is crazy. But to be totally honest with you, they have huge shoes to fill because Dead City is so good.
Oh, I haven't seen it. It dropped recently, right? Like last week or something like that?
Yeah, it is so good. They got huge shoes to fill. Dead City should have been the whole last 2 seasons of Walking Dead. That's how good it is. It's just something about Negan being Negan. just give it to Jeffrey Dean Morgan, also an alum of Supernatural.
I do want to see him as Thomas Wayne Batman so badly. You know what? That's what the Flash robbed us of. It robbed us of a chance to see Jeffrey Dean Morgan breaking Ezra Miller's fingers.
Yes.
Yeah, I would have loved. Yeah, I would have loved to see that. All right, guys. I think that will wrap up our honorable mentions for the day. So thank you very much, everybody, for throwing in some. If anything, I think it's time for us to go ahead and tackle our main topics. You guys ready to go ahead and get this with me?
Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, that's our intro? Our intro music now? I like it. Dun, 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 dun. All right, guys. As you guys saw at the top of our thumbnail, we got some Superman legacy news, baby. James Gunn making his big first splash as a director and writer of his upcoming new Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters slate, Superman Legacy. We've been highlighting it for you guys over the past several weeks now. The building up to the casting names, the short list for Clark Kent, Lois Lane, Lex Luthor, and now we got some things official finally, as we are about maybe technically 2 years away from the release of Superman Legacy. We finally have our brand new Clark Kent and Lois Lane. Now, I don't believe that they've made official decisions on other characters such as like Lex Luthor and things like that. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in just a second, but we definitely have some Superman legacy news for you guys today. As one of the things that we posted this past week, if you missed it, was a news flash. Good old David Corenswet and Rachel Brosnahan are officially cast as Clark Kent and Lois Lane in the upcoming Superman Legacy. Again, these are two names that have been front runners for quite some time. Earlier over the weekend, I think it was, there was a report that wound up dropping that James Gunn ended up doing some screen testing with several different combinations of some of the shortlist actors. And I guess this was the chemistry that certainly did it, guys. So let's go ahead and get into this news. We got an article here from, I believe it is deadline.com, that will talk a little bit more about this casting. So let's go ahead and get into this, Stuart. Superman Legacy, James Gunn taps David Corenswet, I guess, and Rachel Brosnahan to play Clark Kent and Lois Lane in the DC studio film. Following months of audition tapes and in-person screen tests, Warner Brothers and DC Studios have their new Clark Kent and Lois Lane. It says the decision comes after the two were among a few selected in tests in front of DC's chairman's Peter Safran and James Gunn, who is directing in full costume and makeup for the part. So I am kind of curious as to what costume they have in mind, or what costume David Cornsweet wind up actually wearing in costume. And I would assume, if anything, Rachel Brosnahan might have been done up to look a little bit like Lois Lane. So I think that's pretty cool. The test took place.
I do wonder, because they did the same thing with Henry Cavill. I'm not sure if it was the Superman Returns suit, but it was like the same thing when they were testing him in the Superman outfit. They had him put on one that like actually was used in a previous movie. And I think what upsets me is the fact that these photos never get released online, because whatever Superman costume he was wearing, if he was wearing Henry Cavill's Superman suit, I demand to see that, because I want to see what, because I know for a fact they're not going to use that suit in Superman Legacy. So just let us take a look at like what it could have looked like. I don't know. It would just be
fun. No, I definitely would. I would love to see what the screen test photos look like. The tests took place over 2 days with the men. One of the days saw 3 actors in full Superman attire. So they actually had 3 wearing Superman clothes. Sources close to the situation said that each actor had closed test deals that would expire after 2 business weeks. So clearly all parties wanted this sorted out before the potential SAG strike, which would go in effect midnight June 30th, which did they ever make a deal, Stuart? Do you know the SAGs?
No, it's still going on.
Oh, okay. Warner Brothers has yet to say whether they will be attending next month's Comic-Con in San Diego, so there's still a chance that the two could be introduced at the Studio Hall H's panel. I hope that they certainly do. That said, if there is a SAG strike, Cornsweet and Brosnahan could not attend. The strike guidelines state no actors can promote any projects during that strike. Okay, well, I guess it'll come down to that. The Superman Legacy casting process has gone on for months, with Safran and Gunn wanting a thorough search to find new leads for this new franchise. With the 2 roles now locked, Gunn will now look to fill the shoes of Superman's arch nemesis Lex Luthor, as well as other supporting characters like Kent's friend Jimmy Olsen. And it does say Gunn is directing from his screenplay that he went ahead and dropped. And Superman Legacy is set to go ahead and release July 11th, 2025. So yeah, technically about 2 weeks, 2 years away. If you want to follow up with David Cornsweet and just see like, what is he going to bring to the table? What else has he been in? You know, if you're not too familiar with him, I definitely recommend checking out some films. It says the film will mark his first major leading role in a major studio film, having previously appeared in projects like Pearl, The Politician, and We Own This City. And I think The Politician can be found on Netflix. I think one of those movies are definitely on streaming. From the start, his name has floated to the top following that final audition, sealed the deal on the biggest role of his career. And that's kind of true. I feel like anytime that we've talked about this, Stuart, I have just seen David Cornsweet's name just everywhere. And then Rachel Brosnahan is coming off the final season of her career-making role in Amazon's The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which has earned a number of accolades, including an Emmy win. So she is an Emmy winner for her show. She also has been on top of the list of women to play Lois Lane, following what many have described as the best audition of the process. And if you guys have not checked out The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, I absolutely love it. It's one of the reasons why she was my front runner for this position in the first place, because she's absolutely hilarious. It's a great comedy, just some great drama also. It's really a fun series. I don't know if you've checked it out, Stuart, but Rachel Brosnahan just shines in that movie. So I'm really glad that she's getting this opportunity. So we got ourselves our Clark and Lois, our brand new Man of Steel, and our brand new reporter here in Lois Lane. I'm really excited for this, guys. Like, I'm really excited for this. It feels fresh. It feels like, I don't want to say a breath of fresh air, but you know, we've just had so much drama and back and forth. And now it feels like we actually have like a cast that we can build around, you know, like the fresh faces, fresh start. And I think we got some winners here. I'm not too familiar with David Cornsweet's work. I personally have to go down his filmography for sure. But I love Rachel Brosnahan. I was pushing for her from the beginning, so I'm so thrilled. So let me get you guys' thoughts on this first. Stuart, you see what we got here in these two. What are your thoughts, man?
Well, with David Cornsweet, really enjoyed him in the movie Pearl. If you have not seen that movie, Definitely recommend it. It's a really fun, like, kind of a horror movie. I probably watched the movie X first, even though Pearl's a prequel. It's kind of more interesting to kind of like watch the present, or not present day, the 71
I
first,
enjoyed.
and then
I enjoyed X. Yeah.
Oh, you have seen X? Awesome.
Yeah, I have seen X. Yeah, I haven't checked out Pearl yet though.
Yeah, I think if you like X, you'll like Pearl. So I think it's going to be interesting because the type of character he plays, I could see working very well as a Clark Kent type of character as well. Like if he takes like a very similar aspect of his like acting that he did in Pearl, it could work as Clark Kent. Very curious to see how he's going to do as Superman. He definitely has a look for it. I have not seen the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. That's what it's called?
Yeah, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. It's a tongue twister.
Maisel. Okay, so I haven't seen that yet, but it is on Amazon, correct?
Uh-huh.
All right, so I will definitely be checking that out. I can definitely say look-wise, these two have both nailed a Clark and Lois look. Really excited to see how they do. And then remind me, because obviously I want to hear what Indy says first, but remind me to bring up something like Lex Luthor related that James Gunn brought up in an interview before we end this topic.
Yeah, most definitely. But yeah, let's go over to Indy. What are your thoughts, man, on this? David Cornsweet and Rachel Brosnahan as our new Clark and Lois.
I don't understand how me and Marcelino have been agreeing so much lately. But yes, David does have a Tyler look to him, and Tyler is not the best Superman in modern society. I don't. Okay, we disagree again, Marcelino.
Two seconds.
I have to ask. Okay, Tyler Hoechlin or Henry Cavill to you? Which of those two do you like more?
Henry Cavill is the best modern Superman we had more. Tyler, I just like because he came from Teen Wolf. I think that's why he came from Teen Wolf to Seven Heaven. I think that's why I like Tyler so much, just because he's been around with me and what I watched for a while. But I think they got the castings done really, really good. And if you ask me, this makes it even doper for when they cast somebody like Jensen Ackles as Batman because he looks like an older David. And I can't believe people agree with Marcelino that Tyler Hoechlin.
It's okay. Stay on topic.
Okay. Tyler Hoechlin is my favorite Superman as well.
Oh, there you go. Okay, Stewart's on board.
Let me see. There's a boot button on here, right? You can kick him out of the studio. No, I'm all for it. The dude, David, kind of fares to me like the guy who played the lead in the Teen Wolf series on MTV. So that the other Tyler, that's who he looks like to me. And I've always thought that kid could play a young Superman or a young Batman or even a Dick Grayson, anything like that. So I feel like they got the cast right, especially when they want to go with a younger look. So I'm 100% on board with this. And my co-host from Sunday Dinner, Rob Ville, pegged this on the head. He said David was going to get this like 2 months ago and hit the nail on the head. And I had no idea who he's even talking about. So,
because apparently he'd been after the role for a while, even like before they started casting it. I wonder if he was referring to like Man of Steel or like the CW Superman.
Well, he would make a better Cyclops than Superman, to tell you the truth.
Who, David?
Yeah, cast that man as Scott Summers.
Oh yeah.
I could probably see that.
But I like the role, man. I will say anytime I've seen David, Homeboy just looks like Superman to me. I feel like he can easily play the farm boy from Smallville. You mature him up a little bit, make him a reporter from the Daily Planet. Or just take off those glasses and muscle them up a little bit, and boom, we got ourselves a Superman. Like I feel like he can literally do all three roles easily. He almost reminds me of like the Tom Holland of Spider-Man. Like I think he can do both aspects of that. And I will be interested to kind of see how James Gunn tackles that idea and how Superman deals with sort of the secret identity, because I do think that he will be introducing that concept a little bit more than something like Marvel certainly does. So I am really fascinated to see what what James Gunn winds up doing with that. But if anything, Lois Lane, I'm really looking forward to seeing how those two work together on screen. And they do consider the idea like she had some of the best auditions according to this this article. So I am kind of curious to see what she looked opposite of David already. So I'm really excited for him to have some fun with this. Marcelino says, if you watch absolutely Marvel and DC, the people there constantly praise Tyler Superman. As for Cavill, they like him as a person, but not as Superman. Maybe because he wasn't given fair treatment. I don't
think I've ever seen absolutely Marvel and DC. Is that like a podcast?
I don't know. I don't know what that is, but I know that people
I don't know who that is.
I know people like Dwayne Johnson and different people like that have fought to get, you know what I'm saying, Henry Cavill back. There was a whole movement, bring Henry Cavill back.
There's a whole movement. Like, there's millions of people out there that have been like pushing to bring Henry Cavill back. So I don't know what is this idea? Nobody likes Henry Cavill.
The whole release, the Snyder cut following started off Henry Cavill. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you were pissed when they were like, "Sorry, Henry Cavill's not going to be our Superman." What? I mean, come on. Come on.
Yeah, the only
not taking anything away from Tyler. I'm sure Tyler has his fans, but you can't tell me that you just can't tell me that they don't have, you know.
All I'm gonna say is,
like, I think when you look at the majority of people, because not everyone watches cable network anymore. In fact, way few people watch it. So I just don't think a lot of people know about Tyler Hoechlin. So a lot of people love Henry Cavill because that's been their Superman the past 10 years. Oh, absolutely. I didn't mean to kick it, but yeah, no, it makes so much. So like I'm sure like Tyler Hoechlin has other fans like me, but like you just don't see them online that much. You mostly just see Henry Cavill because
So Stuart, you were going to mention the idea of Lex Luthor.
Yes, because
dive
in the
into that a little
article, at one point Lex Luthor was name dropped. So I just wanted to kind of bring up a funny podcast that I'm sure you guys have heard of called Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum, the guy that played Lex Luthor on Smallville. He had James Gunn on his show.
Greatest Lex Luthor of all time.
Yes. James Gunn actually like says that Michael Rosenbaum live on his show, or not live on his show, but on his show, it just kind of says, "You're my personal favorite Lex Luthor." And what we get from that is Michael Rosenbaum then kind of saying, "But just not the Lex Luthor you're looking for in your movie." And then James Gunn replies, "I never said Lex Luthor was going to be in Superman Legacy." So it is kind of funny to note that right now, this movie, even if the article kind of mentions Lex Luthor, currently James Gunn has kind of made it clear that according to him, he hasn't said that Lex Luthor is going to be in it. So I am very curious if he is or isn't going to be in it. And if he's going to be in it, if he's going to go with a similar Lex Luthor to Michael Rosenbaum from Smallville.
So let me bring that up real quick because he definitely is going to be in it. And this comes to us from comicbook.com. Superman Legacy's Lex Luthor shortlist reportedly includes Alexander and Bill Skarsgård. They got both brothers. It says, according to a new report from Hollywood Reporter, I'll just keep it here on comicbook.com. It says, per the report, one decision who will play Clark Kent and Lois Lane are made. It says Gunn will start the next wave of casting. Among those being considered for Lex Luthor are Alexander and Bill Skarsgård. It says, where'd it go? Stupid ad pops up. Holt. Was it Christopher Holt? I can't remember his name now. Chris Holt, I believe, has previously been reported to have initially wanted to play Lex Luthor before trying to go for Superman. And it's not clear if he would put himself in the running for Lex Luthor role should he not be chosen for Superman, which we know that he certainly wasn't. The report also noted that the film will be casting for other heroes, including members of the Authority. So I'm assuming, if anything, we'll probably get more casting announcements, some pretty big casting announcements kind of going forward. But I do find it pretty funny that Bill Skarsgård and his brother, Alexander Skarsgård, are actually vying for the role together. I think that's actually pretty cool. I think they're both extremely talented actors. But now that you know that, Stuart, how do you feel about that?
Okay, now I'm excited. So we do have a Lex Luthor, and even though it's not confirmed, I'm not trying to say this is going to be confirmed one way or another. We do know that because Michael Rosenbaum is his favorite version of Lex Luthor, there is a chance that we could see a Lex Luthor with characteristics very similar to Smallville. So I'm kind of keeping my fingers crossed for that.
Like if he takes his inspiration from Michael Rosenbaum's Lex?
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be pretty cool.
I think so too.
That'd be pretty cool.
Or you just put Michael Rosenbaum in it and break the internet.
Yeah,
I mean, we definitely would for sure.
People would love it. I feel like that would be I think it would be a smart move, honestly.
Nicholas Holt, thank you so much, Christopher, for correcting that. I was like, Christopher just didn't sound like the correct name for Holt, but I was like, I'm just gonna go with Chris Holt. I have no idea. But thank you for that.
Don't throw that in Chris for that, because his next comment is gonna get him banned off of YouTube.
Oh, stop. Just trolling our comments. Marcelino does say incorporating the Authority in Superman Legacy sounds brilliant, especially since the Elite are inspired by Authority. So it comes full circle. If anything, look, James Gunn has been very open about this, and then this world that we're going to be jumping into, I'm really looking forward to just the world building that he's going to provide. He has mentioned the idea that this world's already populated with superheroes, and I'm sure villains as well. And so I expect some pretty interesting quick cameos, maybe even in Superman Legacy to establish that world. And if we're going to be getting some members of the Authority, I think that's pretty cool. Like, it would be awesome if we even get like news reports of other superheroes getting involved in stuff, just to kind of see how big and the scope of this particular DCU world is. So I definitely agree with you there, Marcelino. How excited are you guys about that idea?
I wonder, because if this comic book will play a part in that like kind of concept with Superman, because in the Doomsday Clock comic book, they mention how like in the universes where Superman was the first superhero, he was forced to live a very isolated life, not being able to show his powers until his dad passed away, right? But then in the universes where the JSA were established long before Superman, those were universes where Jonathan Kent actually encouraged Superman to, do good for the world, just like the other heroes. So I wonder if that's a theme that they'll play on in Superman Legacy.
I hope so. I think that'd be pretty dope. Actually, I want to go back and read. Isn't like the Superman and the Authority comic book? We definitely need to like pull that up a little bit, and I definitely have to read that and go back and check it out, because I do want to see if they certainly bring some inspiration from that.
Yeah, I think Superman the Elite would be the one that like they would take inspiration from if they go to the direction I think they're going.
Yeah, I think that's what I meant. Was I definitely agree with you there. I think that's definitely something to check out if you guys are looking for maybe something to read to kind of get caught up. I do think you might be onto something there. So we'll see. And I think the Authority is actually supposed to be the second movie right after Superman Legacy as well. So if anything, I expect Superman Legacy to kind of lead into an Authority movie. So I think that's a great way to go ahead and establish them very quickly into that universe.
Mm-hmm.
Any final thoughts, Indy, on the casting for Superman and Legacy before we move on? But yeah, give me some screen test photos. I hope they have I am really curious to see what comes next in regards to like when they reveal the costumes. I do believe that this movie goes in front of cameras January of 2024. So pre-production is certainly getting ready. So do you think we get photos of him in costume before filming begins?
We did with Batman v Superman, so I feel like we probably will with Superman.
I hope so. If we can get a look before January of this year. Shout out to Frankie. He says, "Love this casting. I wonder if the screen tests will show up as extras on the DVD." Right? He wants to see him too, just like you, Stuart. Fun fact: I read that Corn Sweat and Brosnahan had a great height, have the greatest height difference of any Clark and Lois pairing. Interesting. Yeah, you got to create those dramatic sunset, standing in front of each other kind of stuff. So it should be pretty interesting. Do you guys think they show up at San Diego Comic-Con if there's no strike? Like if you're DC and James Gunn, no, don't do it.
It sounds like DC is, because I think I saw an article today that DC is also going to be skipping Comic-Con this year.
Yeah, I think if anything, they would probably be pushing these two last movies, Blue Beetle and Aquaman, and just the trajectory. I say don't do it. No, it's like December. I think it's December.
They haven't even released a trailer for it yet.
But if anything, I would say if they do a DC fandom again this year, I think that'd be a pretty cool way of revealing a costume and the first look at these two as Clark and Lois, or Superman and Lois. So maybe DC fandom, but yeah, San Diego Comic-Con, nah, maybe don't do it.
You can have Tyler introduce the new Superman so you can see the height difference.
You know, that'd be awesome. I mean, either Tyler or
Tyler
Henry
Lobos?
Cavill, if you had like either one of them introducing the next Superman. That
no,
would
don't
be
do
cool.
Henry
Kinda
Cavill.
like
Don't
what
do
they
Henry
with Power
Cavill because
Rangers.
Henry Cavill will just make everybody look small. You don't want that
It's
big
true.
man next
Yeah.
to David. No,
he could be 4 inches shorter than David. He's still gonna make David look small. The only way you could do that is like have Henry walk in like his Witcher garb.
let's see how tall David Cornsweat is. He's 6'4". Henry Cavill height. Oh, he's actually taller than Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill's 6'1". He's only 6'1". So yeah, David's actually taller than him.
Yeah, and
He's
how tall is Tyler Hoechlin?
He's like 5'11". Oh, he's 6. He's 6 feet. I'm 5'11 and a half, y'all. So I'm right there with him.
I mean, they used to build a Big Show at 7'2". So
I guess that's true.
Yeah,
but yeah,
that's that show height.
Yeah, but David's the tallest out of all of them. So that should be interesting. But yeah, guys, look, let us. What were you gonna say, Andy?
I said that'd be interesting when like if you get Batman interactions and stuff like that, and then you know what I'm saying height differences with other superheroes.
Yeah, I guess you got to get you the same height. Superman.
That means we're not getting the Martian Manhunter. Because we're not gonna get a Martian Manhunter. Because who they gonna get like 6'8" to play Martian Manhunter?
Yeah, I got some tall shoes to fill, man.
Yeah,
some tall shoes to fill. All right, guys. But yeah, let us know your thoughts. Look, the first step is out of the way. James Gunn's DCU has been established. We got ourselves our casting for Superman Legacy. David Cornsweat and Rachel Brosnahan as Clark Kent and Lois Lane. Go ahead and let us know your thoughts about the casting in the comment section box below. Alexander and Bill Skarsgård, possibly up for the role of Lex Luthor. Who would you certainly like to see? Definitely let us know your thoughts down below. All right, guys.
I'm sorry. I just want to say I have not taken one jab at Tyler. I'm only telling the truth. And She-Hulk was amazing, and Tatiana is flawless.
I was gonna say, like, you're not saying Tyler's bad. You're just saying that you like Henry Cavill more.
Better, yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's about that height. You did that height jab. That was
it's the truth, though. He's short. Okay. It's like we stand next to each other. You're taller than me.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. Like
true.
That's why I would never stand in a room next to you.
What's up, Indy? Good to see you over there, buddy. All right, let's go ahead and get into our next topic. We're going to go from DC over to the MCU as good old Anthony Mackie is back in the news. This past week, we actually had a reveal for Captain America 4. It was initially titled New World Order, NWO for Life, but now it has changed its name to Captain America Brave New World. So that was one of the major announcements that we wind up getting earlier this week. But great timing because Anthony Mackie is in the news talking exactly about Captain America 4. I did give you guys the comicbook.com interview. I think they cut a snippet out of his inverse interview. So I'm actually going to go ahead and bring up the inverse interview where it actually talks the whole segment about Captain America 4. There is other aspects to that interview. I think he talks a little bit about the upcoming Twisted Metal show over on Peacock that I think Indy is going to review also. Yeah, again, a thumbs up from him. So he'll be doing the Twisted Metal reviews. But let's get into some Captain America 4 because I thought he actually brought some really great insights into just really his idea of being the lead role for this movie, working alongside somebody like Harrison Ford. Some pretty interesting comments from him. So this is from inverse.com. I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into the Captain America portion. So it says the rest is superhero movie history. Mackie got the breakout role in Captain America's sequel, a conspiracy-filled political thriller still considered to be the peak of MCU filmmaking by many, plus 4 more movies after that. Then the Winter Soldier and the Falcon and Winter Soldier spin-off series across from longtime co-star Sebastian Stan. Now he's got a lead role in Brave New World, formerly known as Captain America New World Order. He says, I asked Mackie about the title change, but he claims ignorance. He says, I have no idea. They were like, we're changing the title. And I was like, all right, let's do it. And so that was it. So yeah, he just seems like he's the roll with the punches type of guy. But it says the fourth Captain America movie slated for July 26th of next year is a huge deal for Marvel. Not only does it mark the return of a beloved sub-franchise, but it's the first time the studio will pass the torch from one of its original Avengers cast to a new actor in a major motion picture. This might be the fourth Captain America movie, but it's the first Anthony Mackie Sam Wilson movie following the Chris Evans trilogy. If it works, Marvel could apply the same approach to other uber recognizable characters like Iron Man and Thor. And so it says there's a huge amount of pressure, Anthony Mackie says. You throw my dumbass in the water and you're like, swim. I'm like, shit. But at the same time, it's all in a state of mind. I've been given a great cast. I've been given a great group of people who I've worked with before. Says Mackie's Sam Wilson lacks one element that defines Captain America: superpowers. Without any unnatural strength or agility, Wilson will have to rely on brains more than brawn. He says it's more so about his ability to connect and counsel. Mackie says of his Captain America, he's not as rash to bear arms as Steve Rogers was. Having a super serum makes you impossible to beat, so your answer to everything is to fight it out, whereas Sam Wilson can actually die pretty easily, is what he says. So I'll stop right there before I go on to the next section. But anything stand out to you so much so far? Him talking about the pressures of being in this position, and then also his how he wants to portray his Captain America.
I find it interesting that I think in part of this interview as well, how he was pitching to be cast as he wanted to be Black Panther.
Black Panther, yeah.
When Black Panther was coming. And I think he really understands the importance of being an African-American male playing in a prominent role, especially after the loss of Chadwick Boseman. He'll be the first, you know what I'm saying, African-American lead on screen. So it's a lot of pressure on him. It's a lot of pressure on him to make this good. Think about the sacrifices that Cap and Tony Stark made in what we call the only real phase, you know what I'm saying, of Marvel, because everybody's been boo-hooing, you know what I'm saying, the phases that came after. But it's on him to be the new cornerstone. If it feels like, I don't know if that's what it's supposed to be.
No,
like
it feels like it. Yeah,
that he's going to be the new cornerstone to push these new Avengers or whatever's going to happen forward. So it's a lot on his shoulders as an actor, but I feel like more of the pressure is to the writers and the producers to make sure that the character is shown in the light that it needs to be shown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And I think the idea that they are bringing back the writers from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier show, Malcolm Spellman, I believe, is the writer, that they're bringing him over to do Captain America 4, I think does speak volumes. I do think that you need somebody that can kind of be a slam dunk. I don't want to say a slam dunk because I'm sure not everybody enjoyed Falcon and Winter Soldier, but I really enjoyed it as a series. And I thought it really established Sam Wilson as the character that Anthony Mackie is talking about in here. The idea that it's more about his ability to connect and counsel. We see that in the finale when he's literally addressing like all these people sort of thing. And for me, when I saw that moment, that truly established to me Anthony Mackie, Sam Wilson as the new Captain America sort of thing. So I totally agree with you. I definitely do think that there's certainly a lot of pressure that he certainly is feeling. I mean, he certainly mentions it, but like you mentioned, going all the way back to Black Panther, that certainly has a lot to do with it. But I think the idea of bringing back Malcolm Spellman, the writer, Anthony Mackie clearly felt comfortable with him. I think he showcased some of the best of Sam Wilson, and I think that's exactly what you're going to need here for Captain America 4. Let's go ahead and continue, though, unless you want to interject real quick, Stuart.
Not too much to add, but basically just, yeah, I do like how he seems to be confident, but he also knows like he also knows how big of a deal it is. So he knows like to be cautious kind of going forward. And yeah, I'm sure as long as we got like the same people who worked on Falcon and the Winter Soldier working on this, I really do think we're in for a really fun movie coming.
Yeah, I agree. He says Mackie points to Sam Wilson's history as an ex-air fighter pilot who helps other veterans as his defining trait. he definitely has that ability to not manipulate, but understand someone's shortcomings, give them words of encouragement so that they're not forced to action. The physical aspects of it is the last resort. And I think we've been able to see that clearly from even the first time Steve Rogers meets Sam Wilson all the way back in the Winter Soldier movie. It says Falcon and Winter Soldier ends with Sam Wilson thwarting a terrorist attack against a shady political organization, but turning his focus to the politicians, admonishing them to wake up and do better. It's more urgent and more impassioned than the high-minded inspiration oration that Chris Evans, Steve Rogers tended to deliver at the climax of each Captain America or Avengers movie. He says he realized that his ability is not to change the world with force. It's about giving people the wherewithal and the recognition that they deserve so they can make a change. I can go around and beat up people all day. It won't matter. Those people are going to come right back and do the same shit, is what he says. He says Brave New World picks up pretty much right after that, with Sam back in the fold of how do I fit into this superhero world. But he says one person who's definitely not worried, Chris Evans. He says, when I asked via email what makes Mackie special, he comes through in true Captain America fashion. He says his energy and versatility, both as a person and as an actor, I've never seen him tired, and there's nothing he can't do. He's a true Renaissance man. So big words from Chris Evans for Anthony Mackie here. You guys want to interject in regards to anything I've read in that paragraph so far, though?
Yeah, I do love that they brought up one of my favorite aspects about him from, his introduction into the MCU in Captain America: Winter Soldier. I do love that he's a guy that helps, veterans and helps people that, are going through, just whatever kind of mental traumas or PTSD, they have to survive through. I really enjoyed that. And I think that was the one kind of misstep when it came to the Falcon the Winter Soldier TV show, is that the only person you really saw him doing that towards was Bucky, but you never really saw him reaching out to other veterans the same way he did to the Winter Soldier. So it's something that, since they mentioned here in the article, I really hope that means it's something that we might be able to see going forward in the next movie.
That would be pretty cool. If even if it's not necessarily the focus, the idea of actually seeing him in that act, I think definitely does go a long way. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and continue, though. This might be the last section here. The Captain America: Brave New World movie makes a few other major changes. For one, there's a new director in Julius Ona stepping in for the Russo brothers. Mackie says they have a common understanding. We agree on a lot of shit with the world around us, and praises the director's grasp on character and story. As for the action, he's not worried. He says all the flying CGI and all that shit, that's gonna happen. Mackie is just such a straightforward dude, man. Like, I love the fact that this guy literally does not beat around the bush when it comes to anything. He's just so laid back. He says, and then there's Harrison Ford stepping in as Thunderbolt Ross, an actor after original actor William Hurt died in 2022. For Mackie, working across Ford is a full circle moment. The two appeared together in Hollywood Homicide, a mostly forgotten 2003 action comedy where Mackie had a bit role. He says now he's the star. Not that made it any easier. So this is where Anthony Mackie talks about his time with Harrison. He says the first day was so intimidating. I was so effing nervous. I couldn't remember my lines. He's Harrison fucking Ford. There is this aura about him, but he dispels that really quick because he's such a cool guy. He's everything a movie star should be. He would say, let's shoot this piece of shit. And everybody was like, yeah, let's shoot this piece of shit. Mackie can't go into specifics about his scenes with Ford, but he knows that there are plenty of them. We spent a good bit of time together. Ross and Cap have always had a relationship where they were friends and they respected each other, but they always bumped heads. That's their relationship in the storyline. So I find that pretty interesting, man. I find that pretty interesting. What do you guys think about that? One, his relationship with General Ross that we're going to be exploring in this movie, because again, it's not Steve Rogers any longer. This is Sam Wilson, who is an ex-Air Force, clearly has some sort of relationship with him, but also at the same time, just as Harrison Ford, rather intimidating for Anthony Mackie. But definitely going to be, I'm excited to see him opposite on screen across from him. But Indy or Stuart, what do you guys' thoughts in regards to that?
I think it's freaking hilarious. To me, Anthony doesn't seem like the kind of guy that would get nervous in front of like other actors, like no matter how big their name is. So finding out that he was actually forgetting some of his lines, that to me is hilarious. And then like hearing like, Harrison Ford being the easiest guy to kind of like get along with, it definitely matches like some of the stories that you kind of hear about him on the set of The Force Awakens, and how 90% of the time he was like completely stoned.
Oh my gosh, I can just imagine Harrison Ford like that. Any thoughts, Indy, though, in regards to his interactions with Harrison Ford, or just him as Captain America and what the relationship is going to be like with him as president?
The only thing I want to see when it comes to Harrison Ford right now, because God protect him, is CGI everything. So like, let them have their little dialogue, but the only interactions I want to see when it comes to that character is Red Hulk destroying everything. So I really feel like this movie is going to be something that might actually set up the other movie.
Thunderbolts?
The Thunderbolts. So, but man, I'm totally putting this on the back of Anthony Mackie, just like I'm doing Twisted Metal. His star is on another level, and he did star in one of my favorite movies of all time, She Hate Me. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this is going to be like. And I mean, think about it. When have you ever had a bad Harrison Ford performance?
I mean,
he's been in bad movies, but even in the bad
movies
he's been in, his performance has been A1. He was one of the best things about the movie. So this is what I want. It's kind of like when you have a veteran, like Keynote, Derrick Rose being traded to the Memphis Grizzlies, or going to sign with the Memphis Grizzlies in order to mentor Ja Morant and get him up to speed on what he needs to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this interaction, you think about the cast of characters and actors that Anthony Mackie has had the chance since joining the Marvel Universe to rub shoulders with, whether it's, you know what I'm saying, from the best of the best to people at the same level as him, is going to do nothing but make him better in the role he's in. And that's what I think makes this whole Marvel Disney thing appealing to so many actors, when you look at the quality of actor and actress that actually do these roles.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm all for it, and I'm really looking forward to what Harrison Ford does.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think what you point out about just the cast that he has around him, I think that's just even going to elevate his performance in this movie too. And for those of you who are wondering, filming has wrapped on this. They went ahead and posted this on, I can't remember whose production, part of the production this was from, but they posted the slate here. Brave New World wrapped. So the movie is in the can, or at least it's done filming. They still got to go ahead and do all the other aspects of post-production before it's in the can, but definitely moving in the right direction there. And also, I want to bring this photo back up here because there are some people that are teasing this. Like if you because I'm right there with you, Indy. I need to see Harrison Ford as the Red Hulk. I think it would be incredible. But if you look at Harrison Ford's pants, they're pretty ripped up. So they think this is like post Red Hulk. Who knows? I mean, maybe the guy got into some sort of conflict, but this feels very Hulkish to me. But maybe I'm just I'm dreaming here, Stuart. What are your thoughts, man? You think he's gonna Hulk out in this too?
Personally, I think it's just going to end with him getting the serum. I don't think he's going to use it yet. I think he's just going to have it in his hand, and then we're going to get like one final shot of him just like kind of staring off into the distance as the camera zooms in on his face, and then maybe kind of a red tint. Maybe the lighting will be kind of red as it like fades to black.
That'd be kind of cool.
What I think we'll get.
I mean, yeah, we might get a teaser of him at the end of this, because I do think I agree with you, Indy, in the sense that these movies are connected. I definitely do believe like Captain America: Brave New World will probably lead directly into Thunderbolts, and it wouldn't surprise me because of the fact that we really don't have a Avengers team that's established. That it's like, oh shit, we got a Red Hulk on the loose. Like, who are we got? We need somebody to stop this guy, and we get ourselves the Thunderbolts. It feels very like Suicide Squadish to me. So I wonder if like they're putting them together in order to go ahead and take down Red Hulk and in Thunderbolts. That's just my own fan speculation of something I would personally like to see. But I do think, look, I think the fact that you go from William Hurt, God rest his soul, rest in peace, who's a great actor, but like you can go with anybody if you wanted to for General Ross, right? But you go Harrison fucking Ford. This man's turning into Red Hulk, y'all. This man's turning into the Red Hulk, okay? So I'm super excited. But that again, that's nothing's confirmed. But that's the fan in me geeking out right now. But what do you guys think? You think so? You don't think Red Hulk? You think teased? But do you think he pops up in like Thunderbolts? Yeah. What about you, Andy? You think this is Harrison Ford hulking out right here in his ripped pants?
I think I'm on board. I'm on board with Stewart. I don't think you're going to see it. I want to see it, but I think you're just going to get it hinted. And I'm curious as where the serum comes from. I wonder if the serum is going to be made from Banner or She-Hulk, since her blood is everywhere for some reason.
I was actually going to say, I wonder if it got set up, if like that's going to pay off, like what they set up in She-Hulk, if that'll pay off in this movie.
Maybe it comes full circle. Let me ask you guys a question. Are you worried about fans having to do homework now for Marvel movies? Like, because if you've never seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you might be lost as F. I mean, something as small as like, and that's just saying if the She-Hulk connection is there and that's where they got the blood. Like, the idea you have to have watched She-Hulk also for this movie. Do you think one that's in part to maybe why Marvel movies right now aren't doing so well in movie theaters? And that's just my speculation on my part also. Or do you find it as a problem?
I think if you had asked me before Phase 4, I would have said it's not going to be an issue at all. Marvel knows how to give you those Easter eggs without isolating any audience members. But then Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness came out. And that movie, even though, yes, technically you could watch it without watching WandaVision, you're going to be lost, honestly, when it comes to, her overall character arc, especially if the last thing you saw her in was Avengers Endgame, you're going to be lost on what's going on with her. So, I honestly do think that it is kind of becoming an issue that they got to, be careful for. So I could see them like just using that MacGuffin at the end of She-Hulk and having that pay off in Captain America 4, but expecting you to know that, basically, if that makes sense.
You know what? It's not even the MacGuffin, because if you think about it, at the end of WandaVision, it wasn't even the series. It was the Easter egg at the end. And you know what I'm saying, right before the credits roll.
Right.
That set up the entire Doctor Strange movie. So it was like all that character development to reset everything. It was a friggin' end credit. I would say it's more for, in this statement like this, I think it would affect more of Captain America's role in this movie, because all of the character development that happened in Falcon and Winter Soldier, this movie is the payoff from it. So if you didn't watch Falcon and Winter Soldier, just like he just said with the whole Scarlet Witch thing, you're not going to have any idea what's going on with Sam Wilson. And not just that, the fact that other events that happened in other TV series are similarly going to affect what happens in this. And God forbid nobody watches Loki, because you're going to be lost completely in a couple of months on anything that go, you know what I'm saying? Anything that goes on, because you went and watched Ant-Man and was like, what? What is this? So I don't know, man. I'm a fan because I watch anime. I watch a lot of different content and stuff, right? And for people who say they don't like this, but watch Bachelor in Paradise, The Bachelorette, you know what I'm saying? And all these characters on these shows intermingling and all, you know what I'm saying, other shows. And if you didn't watch the other show, you don't know who this girl is or why this girl doesn't like this girl. We could take it back to Real World and Road Rules. You know what I'm saying? If you didn't, we've been trained to take in content like this, and Marvel just made it so easy at first to serve it to us on a platter without us having to go anywhere for it, that I think we weren't prepared for them going, all right, now we're literally going to be making comic books on screen. So if you didn't watch these spinoffs or you didn't grab these comics, you're not going to know what's going on in this comic. So for us as fans of the material, it's easy for us to digest, but the normal consumer is just totally lost.
And I wonder.
Yeah, that was the other thing I wanted to point out. Like for me, this is all fine, but it's like the general audience is like, yeah,
right,
and that's what I'm talking about.
And what I would say is, I do wonder if there's enough evidence out there to say that that is one of the reasons why the MCU movies haven't been doing as well lately, aside from some, maybe not necessarily the strongest writing. I do wonder if that's something that's on top of one of the reasons. And it does feel like I wonder if that also in turn shrinks their audience, isolates people from really getting invested in the MCU like they did. Like before, it was fine idea, like, okay, I just got to watch this one movie beforehand, sort of thing. But yeah, maybe the idea that they've trained us for all this, like, got to watch this movie before you watch this movie and then watch that movie. But now it's like, now you got to watch TV series and these movies. It does feel like maybe it's becoming more inside baseball and not as available for the general audience to just jump on board.
I don't think it's the fact that you have to watch them. I think it was the quantity that they were putting out, because to me, all of it was quality. It was just that it was 3 or 4 shows coming out in between movies, and then 2 of the shows might not have nothing to do with one of the movies that was coming out, but a movie that came out 6 months later, one of the shows has something to do with. I think it's the spacing and the timing of when they do it, and if they whittled it down to maybe a couple of movies a year and then a couple of shows that has something to do with the movies, and if they do a one shot like Werewolf by Night, you know what I'm saying, or anything like that, just to gauge people's, knowledge, or like Moon Knight that has absolutely nothing to do with anything, I think it will go over good. I'm gonna feel sorry for the people who didn't watch Ms. Marvel and then go in and watch the Marvels, and have absolutely no idea what goes on. So
that was my other thing, is like, I would be interested to see how they write these scripts. Like, how are you introducing these characters? If we've never been introduced to them or we've never seen them before in the movie, I think that is probably the biggest key to success, is like, how do you introduce these brand new characters to the movie audience if they haven't seen any of those series? So I am hoping that they keep that in mind, not just for Miss Marvel, but the Teyana Parrish character, Monica Rambeau. Like, again, if you hadn't seen WandaVision, you have no idea who this chick is.
Boy.
So yeah, so we'll see how things go.
Plus, not to mention, her getting her superpowers was like all set up in WandaVision too. So like that's another
Yeah, so you got a lot of eyes that maybe haven't seen that kind of stuff yet. So we'll see how the Marvels does. I mean, this was $1 billion movie, the first one, Captain Marvel, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see if people certainly turn out for this one. The trailer that we've seen so far has looked relatively fun, but we still have certainly more to see before this movie drops. So, but let us know your guys' thoughts in regards to this Anthony Mackie, Sam Wilson, our new Captain America, talking highly about his time with Harrison Ford, the pressures of being in this particular role. What are your guys' thoughts? Marcelino says, I also think that if he becomes Red Hulk and Captain 4, it would be too much since the cast is so big. Sam's new Falcon character, Sabra Ross, I don't know what that means. Isaiah Bradley is going to be in this also, the leader and the Serpent Society. Good point. He probably has his hands full with all those other characters as well. So Captain America 4 is definitely one I'm looking forward to, guys. But let us know your thoughts in regards to everything we talked about in the comment section box below.
Wait, what if the issue we're having is that we're looking at the Red Hulk to be introduced as a villain? What if the villain turn doesn't come until later and he's the ally that helps stop something going on in this movie?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be a villain in this movie. I think, if anything, maybe a low-key antagonist, in the sense of him and Captain America butting heads, or like having different ideas of how to go about a certain mission. Ross being like, let's just bomb them or something like that. And then, of course, Captain America being like, no, how about we go in and rescue people first?
Look, I'm tired of like Dr. Hulk. I'm tired of funny Hulk. I'm tired of Bruce Banner's funny Hulk. We got so many Hulks. Can I just get a rampaging Hulk, guys? I don't need a hero Hulk. I just want to see Hulk smash. It's been forever since I've seen Hulk smash. I don't need an anti-hero, anti-villain, whatever you want to call it these days. Hulk, no. Give me a Hulk smash. I need to see Avengers 2, Age of Ultron, tear shit up, Harrison Ford, Red Hulk, smash. Don't give me this anti-hero stuff, guys. I don't need this anymore. I'm sorry.
No, that was funny. I didn't expect that. I'm definitely
that threw me completely off. I was like,
I'm just tired of my smash everything guys being castrated these days. Okay, I just need somebody to smash something. Roman Reigns is the only person smashing things these days.
No, that'd be Jay. That'd be
Jay Uso. As of yesterday, for 1,200 days, Roman Reigns was smashing. I need a Red Hulk smash, please.
He says Sombra
is Sombra. That's right.
Yeah, I didn't catch the way he wrote it. I didn't catch the name. That's what it was.
Yeah, commas help.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yes, I do remember. I think when you brought that up, I think I might even put an image of Sombra up there before, because she was cast in this movie as well. So thank you for that.
No, we'll see what happens. But this is probably, as far as Marvel goes, maybe the most anticipated Marvel movie that I'm looking forward to, because it's the one that has the best setup compared to the other ones, you know what I'm saying, that are going. We've been waiting to see what's happening with this Captain America, and man, I just want to see some of Isaiah Bradley on screens. I feel like we didn't get enough of him during Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, it should be some great stuff. I absolutely loved Isaiah Bradley.
He nailed it like the 5 minutes he was on screen.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. With that out of the way, we will move on to our next topic. We're going to get out of the MCU and DCU bag as of right now, but we will go more independent comic books, maybe like Image Comics, because Spawn the movie is back in the news. That's right. We've been keeping you guys updated over the past several years. Todd McFarlane's been trying to get the Spawn movie off the ground, if you will. Homeboy's been wanting to direct. He's written this particular script himself. He's been taking it around the studios trying to get this movie greenlit. He's been getting some pushback on the idea that he wants this to be his first directorial debut movie. I think he's eventually come around to the idea that's not a good case. So I do expect him to get a director if he doesn't have one already. But they almost seem like they are ready to go full steam ahead here. We might actually have some development around this Spawn movie, guys. So let's go ahead and dive into this one. This one actually comes to us from comicbook.com, where it in fact says the Spawn movie in very, very active development. Predicted 2025 release, according to Blumhouse head Jason Blum. This is an exclusive report from comicbook.com. It says the long development Spawn reboot is apparently close to entering production, with Insidious the Red Door producer and Blumhouse chief Jason Blum telling comicbook.com that the current hope is to have the movie in theaters in 2025. Unfortunately, it sounds like the script is not yet completed. What are you talking about, Todd McFarlane? You've been working on this for like 2-3 years. Because Blum suggested that the key to getting the movie back on track is the end of the current Writers Guild strike. He offered no insight as to whether the movie, which was to be directed by Todd McFarlane, is still working with McFarlane's original idea, or whether big changes have been made since the last update. So that's interesting. That's news to me. Warner Brothers released Spawn movie in 1997 through New Line Cinema imprint. The movie earned $88 million at the box office, about double its budget though, but was not regarded especially well with critics or audiences. McFarlane started talking about another movie in very specific terms around 2016, saying that he had an Oscar-winning actor interested. This later turned out to be Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx got a whole bunch of problems that he's trying to recover from as of right now. The plan is for the movie to be a hard R horror film rather than playing in the superhero genre like the previous movie did. Blum also told Comic Book Dime, he says, I would say you have a lot to hope for because it's in very, very active development. What needs to happen is that my fellow friends, the writers and the studios, need to figure out their differences and get back to writing. But we've got a great group of folk putting it together. And my hope is that the movie, my prediction is maybe we'll actually see a Spawn movie in 2025. No promises, but that's my prediction. Let me throw this to you guys. Indy,
man, quit playing
this movie.
Quit playing. If we can get a Mortal Kombat reboot and a Mortal Kombat 2 movie out, you know what I'm saying, really quickly after that, you are playing right now. You're not even making good Spawn comics right now. We haven't had a good Spawn statue. What are you doing other than letting him guest appearance in video games? Get it together, put this out. He is one of the best black superheroes, you know what I'm saying, ever written, for the complications he's having, the relationship with his wife, you know what I'm saying, everything that went on. It's one of the best stories ever. Put that movie out and it will go. We have plenty of amazing young black actors, you know what I'm saying, that could play Spawn, the guy who voices friggin' Miles Morales in the Across the Spider-Verse movie. That could play him. You can go off that hype from him being in that and actually cast him in his first live, you know what I'm saying, like live action, the superhero role. It's so much that you can do. That M'Baku, you can have M'Baku play Spawn. Like, you don't need a real huge actor. You need somebody who can actually capture the pain and everything, to have us relate to what this man is going through, because that was one of the things about this character, is him watching his wife live a life with another dude while he's fighting off demons and everything else, and then just cast somebody really creepy and crazy as Violator, and stay as far away from the dude who played Joker and the vampire as possible, because I don't want him in any more comic book roles. Yeah, but
John Leguizamo?
No.
He played the clown though in the first one, didn't he?
Yeah, Jared
Leto.
Keep Jared Leto away from my superhero movies. But I'm just honest with it. I don't believe him. It's been how many years? I mean, the first movie wasn't bad. The animated series was amazing.
Yeah, the animated series was great.
There is no reason why this movie isn't out yet, other than you're being lazy, bro. Like, you're reaching George R.R. Martin levels of laziness right now.
No, bro. I mean, look, George R.R. Martin been on strike for like 10 years. Okay, this man hasn't written anything. He's been doing his own strike quite some time. So yeah, that man's not doing anything right now. But you know what? The idea of Winston Duke as Spawn, I think, would be really cool. I think that's actually a really good name. I actually like that even better than Jamie Foxx, to be quite honest with you. But Stuart, do you believe that we're going to get ourselves a 2025 possible release? He's predicting it. He's not promising it. But he thinks we're going to get 2025. It sounds like they might be making some changes to Todd McFarlane's script, because the guy has been pretty adamant about how much he's worked on this for such a long time, right? I mean, we were under the impression the script was done. He was just looking for a director and a studio to go ahead and greenlight this. But it sounds like they got a hold of the script and possibly making changes. What's your thoughts in regards to that and the 2025 possible release date?
I mean, the whole thing with Todd McFarlane, like, he's a brilliant comic book writer, but I'm wondering if, like, some of the things kind of going on behind the scenes is, like, them being like, hey, the script would be great if it were a comic book, but if this were a movie, and we're looking at a realistic Blumhouse movie, so, like, not the biggest budget out there are adjustments that you got to make. And I'm not sure, I feel like his imagination might be too big for the limitations of like a Blumhouse Spawn movie. So I feel like that's where the rewriting needs to come in, that they can't really get to because of the writer's strike. So I do think this movie will happen. I don't know if 2025 is a realistic release date, but it all depends on how long the writer's strike is going to last. And the sooner it's done, the sooner you can get writers to go over the script, make it more like a formatable for like a movie, and by movie I mean like a low budget Blumhouse movie, right? Make it more, make it so it can fit more into that than a comic book. As soon as you got that, they'll, I do fully believe him when he says they're going to start production, because why would you hold off on that?
Yeah, I hope that they definitely don't hold off on it. But I like your take. You're probably right. Maybe he wrote it like a comic book script, and he's like, "Wait, you want to make this for how much money? Like, this is like $150 million movie, Todd. No, this is not what we do." Even though he has mentioned the idea that he wants it to be rated hard R, he wants this to be a horror flick. I would think that will automatically fall right into the lower budget sort of thing, right? Like, I can literally just see like a brooding Spawn in some alleyway surrounded by trash and rats and all this shit, literally for like half the movie. I mean, I could just see like a somber, dark Spawn, in his thoughts sort of thing. Clearly some action here, there's some detective things kind of, detective stuff going on type of thing. So I do think that there's a direction you could come at, especially from a Blumhouse movie, because that's what they're really known for, right, Stuart? Making these great like horror films on a low budget.
Yeah, and taking chances on people a lot of times too.
Yeah. Go ahead, Andy.
This is what I'm gonna say, and this is how I feel about it. He's so intent on this going to theaters, right? But that's not how things happen nowadays. Why not give this to Netflix? Why not take your script, go to Netflix, have a premiere similar to like, who was that just had like Chris Rock? Didn't Chris Rock have like a live, was that Netflix debut or like his special where it was like live or something like that? Where there's some way you can figure out, even if it's not a Netflix, somewhere you like charge, you know what I'm saying, extra for a premiere, build up to it and let them do it. Netflix hasn't missed with most of the stuff they've been doing lately as far as, you know what I'm saying, movie and content is gone. And they've been putting a lot of money into stuff, as we see when we talk about the One Piece live action, how much money they put into that, you know, more money than what went in the Game of Thrones. Let them build on it. I think he's so protective of his property, you know what I'm saying, that it's going to end up not letting this thing come out.
I mean, honestly, I think, look, this movie probably could have been in production like a year and a half ago, honestly, Stuart, right? I mean, the guy for such a long time has felt like he's been so adamant about, I need to direct this movie. And it literally felt like months ago, or maybe sometime last year, he finally came to a realization, yeah, I don't think studios are really going to greenlight this movie if I'm the director of it. Like, no, yeah, we've been talking about that for like a year and a half before he came to that realization. So you're right. Maybe he got into his own way a little bit too much early on in this project. Maybe this movie could have certainly have happened a long time ago. So I do think there's something to that, Indy, in regards to it. But I agree. I think this would still make a great movie today. I hope it certainly gets done. I do think it's in the hands of a great studio. So we'll see what they wind up coming out with this, but it doesn't look like anything's really going to start happening until the writer's strike winds up wrapping up. So hopefully they can finally get the deal that they certainly deserve, and this movie will eventually get made. 2025, though.
No.
You know, maybe if we're aiming for like
the writer's strike.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, because I was gonna say, like, if you get me to the end of this year and you want to release this movie, say like November 2025 on a low budget sort of thing, I can see this. I can see this happening in 2025. So I'm gonna say yeah. As long as the writer's strike ends before Christmas, I'll say yeah. I think we get a Spawn movie 2025.
And then I feel like you get a Morbius 2025. That's what's gonna happen.
Oh no, we ain't getting no more Morbius. Oh, and that's what you think that's gonna result in movie wise?
Yeah, you're gonna result in the Morbius 2025. if you do that, this movie can't be low budget. I feel like a Spawn movie deserves, because I feel like the first Spawn movie felt kind of low budget. You know what I'm saying? I feel like this deserves more than a low budget movie.
You know why the first movie felt so low budget?
That looked low budget to you?
The bad CG, not the costume. Costume's amazing, but the bad CG was really expensive at the time. So even though like by now it looks so bad, at the time it's just like, well, this is all computers can do, honestly.
Yeah, that violator violated my eyes. But anyway, all right, guys. With that out of the way, let us know your thoughts. The Spawn movie possibly dropping 2025. Do you believe it? Are you eager for it? Let us know your thoughts in regards to this new update that we wind up having for you guys. All right, and with that out of the way, oh no,
that was pretty funny.
So would Tyler Hoechlin be like the value bags, like the non-name brand value bags at the bottom of the shelf?
No, he'd be the you remember the stuff you used to get like when he'd be the King Vitamin.
I'll put so much disrespect on these men's name. Anyway, let's move on to the next topic, y'all. You know, Stuart, this might be right up your alley. Unfortunately for me, I think you might have mentioned this before. I unfortunately have never been the biggest fan of the Tron movies. Unfortunately, like I've tried to get into the original ones. I even tried to get into the remake that they had a few years ago. I didn't honestly. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I knew that they were gonna make a Tron 2. I didn't ever even knew when it released. I didn't even know when it hit theaters, when it came out, when it stopped. This is unfortunately just not a franchise that I've been a big fan of, but I know a lot of people certainly are and really want like a good revitalization of this franchise. And Tron 3 is back in the news, as we got some casting news. Because even though Tron 3 already has cast the man that Indy does not want any more Marvel movies, Jared Leto is in Tron. So keeping our fingers crossed that this is a great movie. But Jared Leto is not the only one in this movie. As this week we wind up getting information, and I love this guy, Evan Peters. Evan Peters has joined the cast of Tron 3. This is from the HollywoodReporter.com. Dahmer star Evan Peters, he was great in that, by the way, joins Jared Leto in Disney's Tron 3. So there's good old, there he is, good old Evan Peters. Welcome to the grid, Evan Peters, the actor who generated acclaim for his popularity for the title character in Dahmer, Monster, the Jerry Dahmer story, has closed the deal to star opposite Jared Leto in Tron Ares, the third installment of Disney's technology-pushing movie series. Joaquin Ronan is directing the feature that is due to begin shooting in August in Vancouver. Getting filming off the ground would be a coup for the studio, which has been trying to make Tron 3 for over a decade. No way. Has it really been that long? And turn Tron into a bona fide brand and franchise. Disney released the original Tron back in 1982 with Jeff Bridges starring as the video game designer, Kevin Flynn, who is transported inside his own creation and teams up with Tron, a security program played by Bruce Boxleitner. The film was not considered a box office success, but did earn 2 Oscar nominations. Ironically, neither was for visual effects, which is one of the aspects of the movie best known for it as it went on to become a cult hit. The studio finally made a sequel in 2010, Tron Legacy. That one starred Jared Hudland and Olivia Wilde. That movie, too, didn't exactly light up the box office. A sequel to Legacy had been in the works on and off. With legacy characters earmarked to return eventually, that was scrapped and a new direction was set. While the 2 previous movies were largely set inside the world of computers and programs, the script for Ares is said to focus on the emergence of a sentient program that crosses over into the human world that is not ready for contact. Oh, that sounds pretty promising. It says Leto, who has attached to the project for several years, is set to play Ares, the manifestation of that program. It is unclear who Peters would play, although the script calls for a soldier in the computer world and an awkward gamer in the human world.
Ooh, that is right up his alley.
Yeah, the awkward gamer in the human world. Yeah.
And because like he doesn't
give
look
me your thoughts.
He's got muscle. So like if he wanted to play like 2 characters, like he could like literally play like, you know, the geeky gamer version of himself like in the real world, and then have his avatar be like the soldier in the video game world. He would pull both versions off pretty well, I think.
That's kind of a cool concept. That didn't even cross my mind when I was reading that. But how do you feel about the casting in general and just this news? Like your anticipation for what it does for your anticipation for Tron 3.
I think for the main character, if he, assuming that he's like, you know, or that, I think with Evan Peters, it's a win. When it comes to Jared Leto, I don't know. I see potential in Jared Leto in like almost all of his movies, even the ones where he's really bad. I just see there's something in him that could work, but it's like none of the movies he's been in has ever found that thing that he has that could work. And I worry that this is just going to be another one of those movies that just doesn't utilize him in the way that would work really well for his role. Once again, like they did with Morbius, like they did with the Joker. You know, I think he could have had potential to do both those roles very well. I just feel like the acting direction he was given just wasn't it didn't play on his strengths enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally get you. Like a lot of potential, but nothing really striking. I mean, we feel like, well, he did win an Oscar, right? Like I can't take that away from Jared Leto. I do believe he did win an Oscar. Was that opposite of Matthew McConaughey? I can't remember the name of the movie, but I do think Jared Leto won an Oscar. So I can understand.
Club or...
Yes, I believe if he didn't win, he might have actually been nominated. I'll look that up again.
I was going to say, if he won, who was the competition?
Best Supporting Actor. He did win back in 2014. I'm trying to see if it has 2014 it said he won, right?
I actually haven't seen that one.
I thought he actually did pretty good in that one, but so yeah, he has won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. Definitely well deserved, because I was actually pretty impressed with his role that year. I don't know what his competition was. So I get the idea of, it's like, man, Jared Leto's this Oscar winner, right? Like, he's got a lot of potential. We can see him in a ton of roles. But I also wonder if it's maybe just the characters that they've given him. But I guess a lot of us also believed, hey, he was going to knock Joker out of the park. He was going to knock Morbius out of the park, right? So you might be right. I'll be interested to see what he does as the manifestation of a program. Like, that feels like that's right up Jared Leto's alley. You know what I mean? But what about you, Indy? How are you feeling about Evan Peters joining this? And what's your relationship like with Tron, the franchise? Have you seen any of the movies or what?
I believe I saw the originals. I played the video game. I haven't saw any of the new stuff. Tron is nothing that, as big of a video game head as I am, Tron has never been something that appealed to me. I don't know if it's the colors or something like that. Yeah, I don't like that at all.
That's why I put that up there.
I don't like that at all. Neon colors have never appealed to me at all. But I'm a huge Evan Peters fan, so it might be something that, one of the things, because of who you cast, I might actually watch the movie. I also would like to say that Evan Peters, they ever needed a body double for a young Luke Skywalker, I feel like Evan Peters should play that. You know what I'm saying?
I can definitely see that, especially with the hair.
I can totally see it.
So, you know what I'm saying? I'm team Ralph Boner all the way, baby.
God. Yeah, man. I didn't even think about that until you brought that up, Indy. So I kind of appreciate that casting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a big fan of Evan Peters too. I really liked him in the American Horror Stories series. He kind of, over the past few seasons, I mean, he's been sort of in and out sort of thing, but he always just showed like his range every season. So I really always appreciated how they utilized him. And I didn't watch all of the Jeffrey Dahmer story movie, but my girlfriend's into like serial killing and all that other stuff. I literally sleep with one eye open every night. But she loves that stuff, and so she would have it on in the background, and so every once in a while I would watch it. And man, he just gave it just a chilling performance, dude. Like it's
red flag,
unsettling. Yeah,
red flag.
Now I always think back to that South Park episode. Stan, we're not getting our investigative murder porn.
Yes, dude. Yeah, I'd be walking in just randomly. Dateline Beyond, 48 Hours. Like, babe, would you watch it? Why are you taking notes?
I would just like to say that I'm watching like the Facebook and seeing who's interacting with us and stuff like that. And I want to give a shout out to Julio Guerrero, who just shared us to his many fans that he has.
He does the publishing, right? For the
publishing for Guerrilla Publishing.
Yeah.
And what is it, Pro Wrestling Tees? Because he's a member of Pro Wrestling Tees, his designs are in the AEW Fight Forever video game.
Nice.
So he posted it up the other day, and he had like his name and stuff on there. So shouts out to him, because we interviewed him right here on this platform.
That's right. We got his video up here for sure. Appreciate you coming through, man. And shout out to Cody Cannon over on Facebook for hitting that like button for us, man. Wherever you guys are watching us, whether that be on Facebook, whether that be on YouTube, Twitch, support the channel, man. Hit that like button, share these videos, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We got a ton of content here for you guys.
Yeah, you said Cody, and I wanted to go, whoa! Every time I hear Cody now.
My girlfriend does that randomly too when his music comes on. She don't know any of the words, but once that movie comes on, she's in the kitchen. I'm like, oh shit, babe, I didn't. You hit those high notes, man. But all right, guys. Let us know your thoughts about Evan Peters in Tron 3. Does it heighten your anticipation for the Tron 3 movie? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below, or even just your thoughts on Evan Peters. We'd love to know them. All right, guys. With that out of the way, look, I want to dive right into this next project, because honestly, I'm really fascinated about it, and I'm actually surprised that we haven't talked about it more here on this channel. I'm a big Zack Snyder fan. I do like a lot of Zack Snyder's work, and he's got a massive project that's set to go ahead and drop on Netflix. I don't even know when the release date is, honestly, but Rebel Moon is in fact coming to Netflix here. This is really Zack Snyder's sort of I don't want to say groundbreaking work, but world building work, if you will. I feel like the scope of this particular world that he's about to go ahead and introduce us to is going to be incredible. But Empire Magazine this past week just went ahead and actually did like a full cover shoot of it and everything. They've got a ton of articles that are probably going to be continuing to drop not only this week but next week as well, as we continue to get further and exclusive images and new information about Rebel Moon. So if this is your first time hearing about Rebel Moon, don't worry. We have not really talked about it too much on the channel, but I definitely wanted to go ahead and give it its shine because one, it's Zack Snyder. He tends to do pretty good work. And two, just the world that he's creating just looks extremely fascinating, especially if you're really big into sci-fi. So we got two articles here from Empire Magazine I want to go ahead and dive into. The first being really talking about the sci-fi epic Rebel Moon. This comes to us from Empire Magazine. Let me go ahead and bring this up here for you guys. Here we go. This is from Empire Magazine. Zack Snyder's sci-fi epic Rebel Moon is a culmination of everything he's done thus far. And they also give us some exclusive images. I'll even go ahead and put up this image for you guys to check out for yourself. As I read this, it says, you can never accuse Zack Snyder of taking the easy road. Throughout his career, the filmmaker has made a habit of facing up to Herculean tasks, whether being the person to finally unite the Justice League on screen or to successfully adapt Alan Moore's masterwork Watchmen, or take on a reinvention of The Dawn of the Dead as a first feature film. But all that pales in comparison to Rebel Moon. For his next project, Snyder is cooking up a whole new universe, quite literally. In a multi-part sci-fi blowout. And while it draws from several significant cinematic touchstones, its signature is all Snyder's own. He says, I feel like this movie is a culmination of everything he's done thus far, is what producer Deborah Snyder says. There's so much to it, so much thought in the production design and the languages and the characters. It's easy to agree Rebel Moon looks like a similarly expansive plan to his DC Snyderverse. This story already split across 2 movies with plans for more to come. As a sci-fi war story, expect similarly blurry, imaginative action as Army of the Dead and Sucker Punch. And for sheer ambitious world building, well, Snyder has long been flexing that muscle, building it up across his whole career. Taking inspirations from, it looks like, Seven Samurai. Rebel Moon sees a group of galactic heroes, including Sophia Boutella's Korra, Charles Hunnam's Kai, Jaman Hunsao's, and I'm butchering these names, I apologize, General Titus, Donna Bay's Nemesis, and more, band together to help the peaceful moon of Velt stave off the demands of the evil Imperium. In particular, Ed Skrine's Admiral Atticus Noble. Split across part 1 and 2, Snyder is able to let his story breathe. If we cut it down to one movie, we pretty much know how that goes. By page 15, we're on the road. With a recruitment movie, trust me, I know, he laughs, acknowledging his own history of assembling ensemble cast. The difference between a single 3-hour cut and a 2-part approach will be felt. There's no surprises in that single movie. 4 hours is a whole different kettle of fish. So it says if part 1 will be about getting the band together, then expect an even more explosive part 2, is what Zack Snyder says is a war movie, like a Normandy invasion film, but with the first hour in France. Expect France is now, well, space. Most importantly, the 2-part scope will allow time to establish the cast of characters and the significant stakes for all involved when it comes to standing up to the Imperium. And then he says, it's very much a movie about what would you sacrifice yourself for? Everyone's a little bit broken, but there's real catharsis in the journey. And the rebellion begins here, is what it says. So pretty interesting insights here for this Rebel Moon story, Stuart. How are you feeling about the idea of it being a 2-parter? That's I'm trying to figure out how I feel about that. They do talk about the idea of this being like a recruitment story. So when I think of that, the first thing that kind of comes to mind, and this feels very like big shoes to fill, but I think of like Fellowship of the Ring. You know,
Yes.
that felt very much like a recruitment story, but we certainly had some action in it before we get to the end, a big climactic battle, and then they split ways and kind of go on their mission. So I am kind of curious how this is going to be split up. I think as long as Zack Snyder can get the pacing correct for this movie, in regards to this being a recruitment movie, I think the payoff of a part two, especially in just the fashion that Zack Snyder does his big epic action sequences, especially if he talks about it being like the invasion of Normandy sort of thing, like that sounds bananas to me. So part two sounds pretty interesting. Part one, the idea of having to convince people like, hey, there's a part two more to this story. I think you got to make part one pretty good though. So I think it's going to be about pacing. But what do you think about hearing what Zack Snyder or the producer had to say about this movie?
No, you're absolutely right. My thought when you were reading the article is, how is that going to work if it's just a recruitment film? Like, how are you going to keep someone like interested the entire time? But then you brought up Fellowship of the Rings, and I'm like, oh, I guess this actually can be done. And then I think about it with the movie Dune from a couple years ago, and how it wasn't necessarily a recruitment movie, but it really was just all setup. And yet there wasn't a single time watching either of these movies where I was bored. You know, even if if they only exist to set up the main plot that's actually supposed to hook us, they're still able to, hook us just fine on their own. So I think as long as that's a similar direction that Zack Snyder takes with this movie, it can definitely work. I love sci-fi, and I especially love when a whole new original sci-fi world is, being made to be like fully, developed and fully realized, and something that could like really span off into multiple different genres, the way Star Wars does it, the way Star Trek does it. I love it, and I'm always excited to see like, the little seed that kind of started it all. Like, this, for all we know, it could end up just only being a two-part movie, and that is it. Or, if you go by the comments, I think Marcelino is saying it's supposed to be a trilogy. So it may just be this trilogy, and it's a one and done. But it's also, I look forward to seeing if it has that potential of really growing into like a full like cinematic universe.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool if it actually has the potential of getting to cinematic world levels, and they just continue to do spin-offs and create type of things. Because I'm right there with you. Like, I love the idea that this is Zack Snyder really sort of creating his own world. And it seems like the attention to detail certainly might be there. I mean, when she's talking about the idea of like he's splitting the movie into two. I think there was one where she mentioned the idea of like um he's creating a ton when it comes to this, like languages and stuff, really having to create and establish a whole entire world. For me, that is just really fascinates me. That feels very like Tolkien level stuff. I'm just really cool about, like, I just really love the idea of somebody like a Zack Snyder using that imagination to world build like he is. And so I do think he's got himself a pretty great cast here, some really strong actors. I do want to see how they establish these brand new characters. But for me, it just feels exciting because it feels like there's a potential here for a brand new franchise to be established if done successfully. And I probably, and I certainly wouldn't mind maybe a little bit more of it if it's rather successful. So I think this is right up Zack Snyder's alley. So we'll see what else he winds up creating. There's another aspect to this article I do want to talk about. There's a secondary article that talks about one of the other characters in here. Let me go ahead and pull this up here. And I think they also have a exclusive image. One of the characters, or one of the actors I did not know that was going to be in this movie, Anthony Hopkins, has actually attached himself to this film. Anthony Hopkins is actually going to be playing Robot Jimmy. It says Rebel Moon, Anthony Hopkins, Robot Jimmy is on a journey of self-discovery in Zack Snyder's sci-fi story. Let me go ahead and bring up the image that they released with it also for you guys, so you can get an idea of Robot Jimmy here. It says at the age of 85, you still never know where Anthony Hopkins' career is going to go to next. Recently, he won an Oscar for his heartbreaking performance in The Father, and he's playing an elder Sigmund Freud in the upcoming Freud's Last Season. And just a handful of years ago, he was joyriding around in Transformers: The Last Night. For his next role, he's taking on another surprising task, not just joining Zack Snyder's movie, the multi-part original sci-fi epic Rebel Moon, but voicing one of the most mysterious characters, the robotic Jimmy. Snyder says, Jimmy, I see him as a wild card. He's on a journey of self-discovery, and it's really one heck of a journey. Jimmy was brought to the peaceful planet of Velt by the Imperium, the nefarious force hoping to demand all of Velt's precious resources, and who get more than they bargained for when the planet assembles a handful of hardened warriors to fight back. Once upon a time, Jimmy was one of many identical droids assembled to serve their king in war. Now he's been repurposed by the Imperium to do their literal heavy lifting, and he's set to undergo a significant transformation over the course of Rebel Moon Part 1 and Part 2. For Snyder, Jimmy represents a significant tonal addition to his sci-fi saga's more fantastical leanings, an Arthurian element to sit alongside influences ranging from Akira Kurosawa to George Lucas. He says, I'm a huge Excalibur fanatic. He's Lancelot for sure. I was thinking about him and how Milius, another hero, hold on, why did it drop like that? And how Milius, okay, is Percival. Expect a legendary arc for a robot like no other. So he says he's Lancelot for sure. That's pretty interesting. And how he's depicting robot Jimmy here. I think Anthony Hopkins is gonna kill this role, bro. I feel like this is like right up his alley. But I love the sound of it. I think he's got some pretty fascinating characters in here, man. The idea that they've repurposed him, apparently Imperium certainly has, and he's going to go through a massive transformation. I do wonder what that means for him. Like, is he going to? I'm kind of curious as to how he turns into a hero in this. But I like the sound of it.
I not only love the sound of this character, and the sound of Anthony Hopkins basically voice acting him, which is something I was like looking up because I wasn't sure if he had ever voice acted before. And as far as I can tell, the only ones I can find are being the narrator of Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and in a video game tie-in to Beowulf. And when he played, I think, a younger version of himself on Westworld. That's it. I can only find 3 things. So he hasn't. So this is going to be like one of his like first like actual like big voice acting roles. So I'm really, really excited to see that. And yeah, just the idea of this character altogether sounds very fascinating. Like the reprogrammed droid. It's also kind of funny how he kind of looks, and the story around him sounds similar to I forgot the droid's name from Rogue One, but it does sound kind of similar to that.
Is it K2SO?
K2SO, that's right. Yeah. So I do like the kind of similarities there. And just the things that Zack Snyder was referencing in terms of this movie, that, things that were inspirations, Akira Kurosawa, George Lucas. The fact that he mentioned both of them in the same sentence, kind of implying that, which shows that he knows that, Akira Kurosawa is a huge influence on George Lucas himself, which is great. And it's cool to see him also bring in, King Arthur elements as well. It's the most Star Wars thing you could do when creating your own sci-fi world is you borrow elements that work in other things and you use those elements to create your own original world. That's the most Star Wars thing you can do when creating a sci-fi world.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, just all his inspirations, like just how magnificent those inspirations already are, and you're gonna take all that and then put it into one film. It's like, man, that's pretty cool. And how he's gonna go ahead and put this all together. So I'm really eager for this. I'm looking forward to seeing what this world is gonna be like. Even Marcelino says, look, I'm not a huge Zack Snyder fan, but I'm excited to see his own movie, Rebel Moon. If this does well, he sees it becoming a big universe, which I'm all for. So yeah, good luck to Zack Snyder, man. I'm really glad. I'm really waiting for him to establish himself on something. Like, I just really want him to create the world, if not just to get some of these Zack Snyder releases, Snyder Cut fans off our asses out of this fandom. Like, I'm sorry, bro, he's busy. He's creating the whole entire world. So I'm really excited to see where all his time and effort has really been since we've last seen him.
Like, okay, guys, Snyder fans that really want to restore the Snyderverse, let me actually ask you this seriously. Would you rather him continue to work under executives telling him what to do, so never fully be able to have his full creative control, or let him just do his own thing with his own sci-fi movie, where if you really want to see what his vision is, this is his vision, guys. You're about to see it 110% with very little studio interference. So
yeah, I mean, you would think so, but I honestly think just half these people just really aren't Snyder fans. I think they're just using this man as a vessel to uplift their DC stuff at this point, because I just don't make no sense to me that you're like I understand you want him to come back, but the fact that you waste all your energy on that and not supporting the actual man's work that he's actually working on right now. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm really excited to see Zack Snyder tackle something else here. But yeah, let us know your guys' thoughts with that huge Empire Magazine preview. Let us know your thoughts and levels of anticipation or anything that jumped out at you that you guys want to further talk about in the live chat or the comment section box below. And we'll definitely keep you guys posted on more Rebel Moon in the future.
I also got to say, I had no idea Dawn of the Dead was his first theatrical film because it looked like it was made by professionals. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I didn't know that was his first either until I read the article. So, all right. And hey, look, we just made the George Lucas reference. Let's dive into some Star Wars news, baby. Because Kathleen Kennedy is in the news. Look, I know look, don't leave the stream, okay? I know sometimes that name could stroke negative feelings for some people, but yes, Kathleen Kennedy is back in the news here, as they just had a huge reveal over at Star Wars Celebration earlier this year. The idea that they're revealing 3 brand new Star Wars movies, and I think last week's Steward of the Week previous, we did mention the idea that Star Wars did have some new release dates that they were going to be setting either for 2025 and 2026. And it looks as though Kathleen Kennedy is back in the news to talk more Star Wars to build upon that excitement and anticipation level. So for those of you who don't know, we got 3 big Star Wars announcements at Star Wars Celebration. James Mangold, who just did the directing work and some of the writing for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, will be doing his own Star Wars movie titled, I don't know if it's titled Dawn of the Jedi, but taking place during the Dawn of the Jedi as it focuses on the first Force-sensitive user. We also have a Dave Filoni movie that's going to be in the works as he winds up bringing the Mandalorian world together, possibly with some Ahsoka stuff in there as well. This huge Mando universe that they're building. Dave Filoni will be helming sort of maybe the culmination or at least a big event in that particular world. And then last but not least, we have the return of Daisy Ridley as Rey Skywalker. And Kathleen Kennedy this week mentioned the idea that that Rey Skywalker movie, it may be connected to another film, Stuart. And let's get into this. This comes to us from totalfilm.com, from their website, gamesradar.com. It says Kathleen Kennedy explains why the Rey and James Mangold Star Wars movie are linked. This is an exclusive from Total Film. It says Rey's movie is set on rebuilding of the Jedi Order, but of course, she won't be the first to try and restore the Jedi to their former glory. As we've seen across Disney Plus TV shows and The Last Jedi, Luke Skywalker did his best to build his own Jedi Academy, though ultimately his efforts were destroyed by Kylo Ren. Considering that history, how will Rey's Star Wars movie break new ground then? This is what Kathleen Kennedy says. She says, I think what's always great about Star Wars is it's a big galaxy, and we're coming off what was a major war with the First Order. And now Rey has made a promise to Luke, and that's really the core of where we're going and what the story will be. I think it offers just a tremendous opportunity to introduce new characters and start with something fresh, because we culminated with what George Lucas was creating, and now we take all of that and move to the next chapter. As for the Mangold's movie, that film will take us back a long way to the Star Wars timeline, to the Force's very beginnings. Kennedy tells us that this has been a major consideration for some time. Let me go ahead and bring up this image here for you guys. She says, that comes up a lot. From the moment I stepped in and George brought me into the company, there's been a lot of interest in that, she explains. While Rey's movie is all about the future, Mangold's will look to the distant past. But according to Kennedy, the two share surprising connective tissue. It was really something that Jim Mangold immediately sparked to. And I think it's a really nice compliment to what we're doing with moving into the future with Rey, and then understanding a bit more where this all came from. because it will be at the heart of creating the new Jedi Order. So to get the real sense of where we might have began with the Dawn of the Jedi could be pretty cool. And yeah, so that's what Kathleen Kennedy had to say in regards to that. And honestly, Stuart, I kind of love that concept. You can't know where you're going until you know where you've been, right? And the concept here of like not only Rey keeping the promise to Luke of continuing on with the Jedi Order, but I am kind of curious. She did save those Jedi texts for a reason. And I am kind of curious if she's been doing some studying, if she's been looking into those texts, and maybe there is information on the very first Force sensitive wielder. And it would be really cool if that's James Mangold's movie, right? And he establishes all that, and then we get ourselves into the Rey Skywalker movie, and there's maybe a reference, or I don't want to say a cameo, but definitely a reference to what we just witnessed. I think that'd be a really cool sort of starting point, especially for somebody like Rey Skywalker that's starting off a new Jedi Order. You got to have some studies. Why not a history lesson, right? And maybe one of those history lessons is what that James Mangold movie was certainly all about. But look, I expect, if anything, if there's going to be a connective tissue, I don't know. Like, I would be kind of curious if like the events that happen in this James Mangold Dawn of the Jedi movie, if there's ramifications for that in the future, and maybe it's something that she, stumbles upon, or if it is simply just in a text and gets mentioned. She does kind of hint at the idea that it seems like it might be the core of the movie. So I am kind of curious if they are building up bigger connective tissues here, if they've kind of seen how the progress with the Mandalorian has worked, right? Like, hey, some of these TV series that we've been setting up, we've been going step by step, really well thought out, connecting everything to one another. Maybe they're kind of taking that same approach to their movies, kind of throwing out the idea of going into trilogies, and kind of letting one sort of build upon the other. Not to say that they're all going to be connected that way and lead into a big event, which would, look, they've been doing it successfully with the MCU. Maybe it's something that might work if they pull the trigger on that for something like Star Wars. It would definitely be a new, interesting way of some storytelling here. But the idea of those two possibly being connected really does fascinate me. And I do think that takes a lot of planning and forward thinking to really pull off. And it does feel like in some areas, Lucasfilm has definitely done the changes to hopefully give us much better filmmaking than they did the sequel trilogy. If you were a big fan of the sequel trilogy, I'm glad that you guys certainly liked it. I know it didn't hit everybody certainly the same way, but I do think that this is a cool first step, and I like the idea of having those two films connected. But Stuart, those are just my thoughts, man. How are you feeling about this information?
I think it's like very perfectly in line of one of the few things they got right with the sequel trilogy. And I think thematically, one of the ideas of learning from the past and, growing from it rather than letting it hold you back, basically. I think that's exactly what they could play on between the two of these movies, because you're going from the Dawn of the Jedi, the start of it. What mistakes did they make back then that we can now correct now that we are restarting the Jedi Order again for like this would be for the second time we're restarting the Jedi Order. So where was I going with that? No, yeah. So I just think thematically, yeah, the idea of being able to learn from the mistakes of Dawn of the Jedi and then seeing what new mistakes she may make going forward from trying to correct those mistakes, I feel like you can end up with some interesting parallels between the two.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I would be pretty interested in how the parallels certainly come up when it comes to the big screen. I am really fascinated about seeing Rey back. Honestly, the idea of her starting a new Jedi Order really does fascinate me. I am kind of curious to see who the supporting characters are going to be for this. I definitely would like to see some reappearances from the sequel trilogies, though. At least somebody give me Finn. Like I'm gonna need Finn back in some way or another. I'll be interested if he's a bigger role or if he's just more supporting character. Who certainly knows. But I think if anything, it's the Jedi Padawans, and I don't know if they're gonna have younglings in here. If they're gonna already establish knights, does she have knights next to her already? Does she consider herself a master? Does she just consider herself a Jedi Knight? I'm kind of curious as to what how Rey will establish that. Does she just not give any labels type of thing? You know what I mean? so yeah, it would be really interesting to kind of see what her vision and what some of her teachings of the Jedi certainly are going to be, because she didn't get a lot of time with Luke Skywalker, so I think she's really depending on these Jedi texts, and so it'll be interesting to see how she interprets it and what that's going to look like on screen compared to what we've seen from the previous Jedi Council, and haven't quite seen from the Luke Skywalker stuff yet, but I think we eventually will, though.
Sorry, super unrelated, but in the middle of that last sentence, your face just happened to freeze frame at like the perfect moment, and I'm very disappointed I did not screenshot it.
I didn't even see it come up on my screen. Maybe somebody else certainly did also. But no,
I
like
it may actually be my screen being laggy. I'm not sure.
But I like what Kathleen Kennedy is saying here. I feel like this is the first time in a long time she maybe hasn't put her foot in her mouth sometimes. But I think she's right on it, right? The galaxy's coming out of a big major war with the First Order. She made a promise to Luke, and now it's a tremendous opportunity to introduce new characters and start something fresh. And I'm really hoping that their idea of taking these movies sort of one at a time, is a really good decision. I mean, clearly the Dave Filoni one is probably not going to be connected to what these other two films are, because I think he's completely dealing in definitely a different era in and of itself. So I definitely expect the James Mangold. And if anything, Stuart, remember we talked about the release dates, right? That they had two movies in that same year, if I'm not mistaken. I think there was one in May and then one in December. I think that was either 2025 or 2026. It might have been 2026 now that I'm thinking about it, but that would line up perfectly with the idea of James Mangold's movie in May, and then maybe the Rey Skywalker movie in December, and you can really capture the May the Force be with you month, and then the holiday month that Star Wars tends to be released this time. So I feel like that's definitely what they're teeing up in order to make that a connective tissue. And we might have talked about that or hinted at that as speculative when we talked about the release dates.
I think that was one of the thoughts that we had when we were talking about like the different movies that could come out at different times. But now kind of like seeing how similar the two of them are going to be according to Kathleen Kennedy, or how they're going to have like, loose connections and things like that. I think it would make sense to release them both in the same year if that was the case.
Yeah, you definitely don't have to, definitely not a lot of time in between them, and they can just kind of easily flow into the next. So, yeah, I'm loving what I'm hearing from Kathleen Kennedy here. But guys, let me know your thoughts. You hear this from Kathleen Kennedy. What do you think? Do you like the approach in which they're possibly taking here? The idea of having connective tissues between these two Star Wars films that are taking place in two completely different time eras? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below, guys. And with that, Stuart, I think that wraps up all of our main topics today.
Awesome,
guys. So thank you guys for certainly coming through, sticking around for all of our topics today. We definitely appreciate it. And I think with that, I think you know what time it is, Stuart.
I won't be able to bring up the thing, but I can do the voice.
That's all I need, brother.
Time for live viewer questions.
And it is time for live viewer questions. Let's go ahead and pull this up here for you guys. I'm not sure how many questions we actually got today. Stupid me actually posted like live viewer questions like 5 hours ago. So I apologize for everybody if you didn't get a chance to get that ahead of time. But let's go ahead and pull this up here for you guys. So we're going to go over to our YouTube page. If you ever want to submit a live viewer question, just go to the YouTube page right here. Click on that community tab like so. And I'll go ahead and post a live viewer question. I'm sorry, 9 hours ago I posted it, Stuart. So 9 hours ago, we got 7 questions. Hey, I'll take that. I will take that. I thought we were going to have like 3 or 4 today, but appreciate you guys coming through with the questions today. Let me get this up here and running properly. Okay, I did newest first, right? Yeah, newest first. Let me scroll on down to the bottom. All right, Jessica Friedman. What's up, Jessica? Do you think Young Justice could return one day? And do you think Naomi, Batwoman, Legends, and Gotham Knights could have gotten another season on the CW had not been sold off? That's a little bit of a what if there, Stuart. So if they stuck with CW, do you think we would have gotten any of these season 2s?
I think if the CW was exactly what it was before it got sold off, then yes, all of them would have been renewed. I think all of those shows would have just kept going until the actors, the cast and crew were done with them.
You know what? I'm gonna take a bold statement here. I think Naomi would have been one and done.
Oh, you do?
Maybe. I mean, I think they did have Ava DuVernay attached to that, though, didn't they? I thought she was like a writer on it or something like that. So they might have went ahead and pushed it. It was just a little lackluster to me. I thought it had some good moments and some good characters. I was a big fan of the characters, and I did like the mystery, but it was one of those things was like, I'm gonna need some big reveals. I'm gonna need some twists and turns, and I thought Gotham Knights did it best. So I do think we would have gotten more Batwoman. We definitely would have gotten more Legends. Hell, we may not have even gotten Gotham Knights, honestly. Had Batwoman not got canceled, but I do think we probably would have gotten more Batwoman and Legends for sure.
I also think that they would have kept Superman connected to the Arrowverse if that were the case.
Interesting. Okay.
I think the only reason they separated it was because all the other shows were ending, so there was no point in having the connected universe.
You might be right. You absolutely might be right in that regards. What's next? Sam Snoswell. What's up, Sam? Good to see you. I feel like I haven't seen you in a minute. Kamen Rider Gotchard. First look. Huh. Let me see. What's this about? I'm going to look this up. TokuNation.com. At last, we have our first images of the next Kamen Rider. Oh!
Ooh, bring it up.
Yeah, give me a second. I'm going to load this up here real quick. There's a couple other things attached to it. Looks like they also have an image of his belt in here. Yeah, give me a second. I'm gonna load this stuff. Kamen Rider Gotchard. Are we that far? What's the current Kamen Rider?
Geats, right?
Or some shit like that.
Is that one ended?
This is Kamen Rider. Here, let me go ahead and load this up too. I haven't kept up with it in a minute.
Neither have I, because I kept up with 01 and then Saber, but then I didn't watch any Revice at all. I kind of wanted to watch Geats. I just never got around to it because it looked really cool.
This is according to first look from Toku Nation. This is Kamen Rider Gotchard, a blue insectoid warrior with untold new powers. Gotcha appears to take abilities from cards.
Kind of like what was that one called? The Kuga, no, not Kuga, the one after Kuga, I think. The one that got adapted into Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, because that was the same thing. They used trading cards basically to power them up as like a way to merchandise trading cards. It's like as a tie-in toy.
It says his driver supposedly fuses the Hopper and Steamliner cards for the Gotchard's base form. There was another image here of okay, let me pull up this other image because that's what it was. I showed the steam one here, but he has another card which is the insectoid aspect of it, the Hopper. So he uses the Hopper, yeah, the Hopper and the steamer in his driver to then create boom. There we go. Perfect. The true story of Kamen Rider Gotchard remains unconfirmed at the time of writing. Stay tuned for Toku Nation for further details. So is this like a insect? It says a blue insectoid warrior. But if he's using a Hopper and a Steamliner, is this like a train and insect combo theme?
I would assume so. It would make a lot of sense because pull the image back up. It kind of looks like he's wearing a Kamen Rider mask on top of a Kamen Rider mask. And if that's how it works, like he uses like the power-ups on his base form, that would make sense as to why it looks like that.
First look, I don't really care for it, honestly. I just don't like this angle, this image as a first look image. I'd rather see what it looks like poster-wise. Actual, like, I don't know. I just don't like this as an action pose as a first presentation. Maybe I gotta look at it on a bigger screen right now. But I'm gonna have to see different angles. I'll have to see different angles, but it's okay.
Yeah, definitely not my favorite.
Yeah, definitely not my favorite, but it's okay. But thank you for bringing that up and bringing that to our attention, Sam. Marcelino, there's a new comic series called Isom, which is a part of a new universe known as the Reapaverse. Okay. It was created by Eric July, aka Young Ripper 59. All right. The story is about a superhero coming out of retirement after learning his best friend has become a new head of the mafia. Interesting. The second issue is up right now if you want to buy it. He also has 2 spin-offs planned to come out later this year. One is Alpha Core, which will be written by a famous 90s comic writer and creator of Bane, Chuck Dixon. Oh, okay. I think I remember a little bit of Chuck Dixon's work on Batman back in the day. Isn't he the dude that broke Batman's back?
I think so. Be. I think that's right for the name.
Alpha Corps is a team of superhero cops patrolling the city while fighting villains. Described as this is the spinoff. This is the spinoff he's talking about, right? Yeah, one of the spinoffs later this year. Alpha Corps is a team of superhero cops patrolling the city while fighting villains. Described as police procedural meets a superhero epic. The other spinoff, Yara, will follow the adventures of a female superhero and will be written by the Soka sisters. If you're interested in buying the comic, then you have to know that this isn't your standard monthly comic. It's exclusive to the website Indiegogo. Hey, there you go. Look at that. They're getting free press here from Marcelino. I hope they pay you, Marcelino. Are you getting paid from them? Meaning that it's funded by fan donations, not any major company. So if you're interested in the series and want to continue to support it, then you have, you know that the next issue won't come out for like 4 to 6 months. Okay. I don't think the first issue is on Indiegogo anymore, but I believe you can still buy it at the Rippaverse, RIPPA verse website. So check it out. Am I interested in checking out the series? No, not really. But yeah, let me know how the first issue is. If you like it, maybe I'll wait 4 to 6 months for the next one. Who is a Power Ranger character you personally don't like that the majority of people love? I was gonna say Justin, but no, nobody likes Justin. Who's somebody you're not a fan of, Stuart, but majority of people love?
Man, I can't think of too many because most of the characters I dislike are ones that like universally a lot of Power Ranger fans don't like.
You know what? I'll say Monty. I like Monty. He was like, way too nerdy and such an idiot. Like I love Monty. Oh, yeah. I love the overacting of him for some reason. Like I couldn't stand him. I honestly couldn't stand him, but maybe that's why I loved him so much. But I did love Monty though.
I did like the idea of Victor and Monty as characters. I just hated the fart jokes so much. I'm just like, these two could be funny together.
Not the fart jokes, but just personality and performance. Like it was just so great to me.
Like the actors did a great job in those roles. Like they definitely had fun with it. So yeah.
What else we got? Blossom. With the reboot coming and all changes ahead, can you believe it's the end of an era of Power Rangers? At least how we knew it as kids. Since they're not using Super Sentai anymore, I'm sure it's going to give the other Sentai Rangers a home. Yeah, man, things are changing a lot. There was a news report out. Let's see if I can find it.
Oh, that's right. The one from New Zealand about it no longer filming in their country. And it's just feeling like something that they've lost.
Yeah, and they talk a little bit about just how big the production was. Here, let me bring. So this is from One News from New Zealand. I'll bring this up here for us to even see. Where'd it go? Since Laurel brought this up, why not? We'll throw this last story in here. This is from One News. International hit series Power Rangers is leaving New Zealand after being produced on our shores for more than 20 years. The news has shocked members of the film industry who've called it a huge loss for the cast and crew who've been a part of the show. The production company Hasbro confirmed the news to One News in a statement, but didn't say why it was discontinuing filming here. We are committed to keeping Power Rangers fresh by reimagining the brand and how we bring our entertainment content to life to our consumers. After 10 years of production in the United States and Japan, the show was brought to New Zealand in 2002 so it could be made for cheaper. Since then, we brought in more than $340 million to the local economy, as well as providing a pathway for local actors and crew into the industry. Actress Sally Martin worked on the first season of the show in New Zealand, Power Rangers Ninja Storm. I was the only female ranger in my series and one of the 2 Kiwis. I'd worked for a few years within the industry, but nothing could prepare me for the kind of schedule and style of shooting. Rhea Vandervis and Tula Blakely also worked on the show throughout the years, with Blakely starring as the upcoming Commander Shaw in Power Rangers Cosmic Fury. So is that news that Commander Shaw is going to be in Cosmic Fury?
I totally forgot, but I think I remember them mentioning that before.
They might have. I haven't really kept up as much as I would like to. Between the crew and the cast, it's just amazing. It's just this amazing feeling and bond, and I'm gutted to see it leave our shores production-wise. Some members of this industry believe it could be connected to New Zealand's film tax rebate, which currently sits at 20%, with an extra 5% if the production meets certain criteria. President of Screen Production and Development Associate Irene Gardner said it's important New Zealand is competitive on the world stage. That's one of the nervous things for our producers who work on international productions, is maybe we're not quite competitive as we might be in the world at 20-25%. The 30th and final season shot in New Zealand is set to be released later this year. We've been in communication with teams to ensure that they are set up for success in their next endeavor, Hasbro's spokesperson said. We've had a pleasure at working with such incredible people and talented teams in New Zealand, and plan to keep close for any future projects that may fit for Power Rangers or across any other future entertainment productions. So it looks like they have an idea of like, hey, if we need to shoot in New Zealand again, we probably will at some point in time. Like if it just calls for it, but it doesn't look like their base of operations is going to be in there. If you had to take a wild guess as to where Power Rangers would be filming next, any guesses?
LA or wherever, because I assume probably it'll be wherever they film like a lot of their Netflix productions. Oh, actually Vancouver. Yeah, but that'd make more sense because I think a lot of Netflix productions are filmed in Vancouver.
I think Vancouver's an option. I would be interested to see like if there's a possibility of Atlanta. But I guess also just I don't know what like the cost difference is. Like, is it cheaper in they get more tax rebates or something in Canada? I have no idea, but I know a lot of the film industry is in there. And honestly, I don't think New Zealand look, I don't want to say I don't think New Zealand has to work because doesn't have to worry, because it is one of those things like they said, Power Rangers has been a staple for 20 years. There's a part of me that was just thinking to myself, oh, you guys will be fine. Lord of the Rings is probably going to film there anyway. Peter Jackson, Warner Brothers rights have to go ahead and tackle new Lord of the Rings movies. So New Zealand, I think, is probably going to be a pretty good base of operations for them to do a lot of their shooting there. But, that'll come and that'll go. Power Rangers has been there staple for 20 years, and like they said, it's really like a great entry point, right, for actors, people trying to get into productions and stuff. When that's like, I don't want to say it's the heartbeat, but I'm sure that brings in a lot of income, like they mentioned. So that's going to be a lot to say farewell to. But I don't think New Zealand is done when it comes to film production. I think they still have other film productions there, but when you've been such a staple, it definitely will hit them a little bit for sure. Hopefully somebody else certainly finds a home there for them. So I do think that this is the end of Power Rangers in New Zealand, but it sounds like Hasbro's open to the idea of like, hey, if we need to come back here for filming for anything, or any other projects that we have, you guys have a beautiful home. We'd appreciate to shoot here somewhere, some other time, but it does feel like base of operations is no longer. And Simon Bennett has made his farewells. Becca and Alwyn, I think, have made their farewells too, as Hasbro really shifts to the future in their reboot.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the franchise looks like from now. To go to Marcelino's question, because I just realized I never gave my thoughts on it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, bro.
Oh, no, all good. I just think it looks like it sounds like a cool premise, but just not something that I'm currently looking to seek out. But definitely, if it ever pops up and I start looking into it, I will let you know.
Yeah, I'm sorry, bro. I didn't mean to.
Oh no, I didn't want to say anything because it's like literally, I didn't really want to say that, but like then he asked in the comments, so I'm like, I might as well just like kind of say I'm not really interested at the moment. At the moment, that is though. But yeah, going back to the whole Power Ranger thing with New Zealand, Yeah, it is going to be interesting. Again, Vancouver's probably the best bet since this is going to be a Netflix production going forward. But it's going to be really interesting to see what the future of the franchise is going to look like with that mid-budget, because it's not going to be quite the 2017 budget, but it's definitely going to be bigger than it's ever been with the past seasons.
Yeah, it definitely will. It definitely will. Blossom says, since I plan to use Bridge Return, do the Broadwigs escape into our Tokyo timeline. Any idea how I can add Bridge's quirks into the story? All I thought of was when he's upside down thinking. Is there any quirks that you remember from Bridge outside of his upside down thinking?
There was the one that he totally did not steal from Ed, Edd n Eddy, which is his obsession with butter toast.
So yeah, maybe give him an obsession with something. Maybe not butter toast Blossom, but definitely something else. An obsession with something.
And then just always accidentally saying the wrong thing, like not purposefully, but like not being able to read the room. That's another quirk that he always had.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. Peg C. What's up, Peg C? I think this is Ram Jam. Hey, Adam and company. Hope you're all doing well. I got a couple questions. What are your thoughts on the Disney possibly removing more content from their streaming service to cut costs? I feel like a lot of people are doing that lately, Stuart. What is going on?
It's a big FU to the writer's strike,
stuff,
so they don't have to play they don't have to pay residuals that way. And I think that is the most petty thing you could do. Yeah, no, I mean, 100% agree.
I don't know. Have they confirmed that that's what they're doing? I don't know if they've confirmed that that's the reason, but it feels like
it would make sense.
Because we've talked about that on here, that when we were talking about the writer's strike, that some people were upset at the idea that they would just randomly remove things from streaming service without giving anybody sort of any notice that they were going to be taken down. And we did learn usually when they do that, it's because of the idea that they just don't want to pay you anymore. After all those years. So I'm glad you brought that up, because it definitely felt that way to me too. That it was a way for Disney and some of these companies to get out of it. Look, I don't know if that's the true case, but I'm just saying optics look like it. Have you been keeping up with current Sentai series King Oger? If so, what are your thoughts about the series? Unfortunately, Ram Jam, I have not, man. I have not. I feel like since I've shut down A Plus More Phenomenal, man, I just have not been keeping up with Power Rangers and Sentai like I used to. I haven't finished Dawn Brothers. King Ogers has looked great, but honestly, I have not had the opportunity to sit down and watch it. Outside of like Once and Always and the upcoming Cosmic Fury, I just have not paid to anything attention sort of outside of that. So yeah, no, Sentai is kind of fallen by the wayside for me. Like I still want to go back and watch Dawn Brothers and finish it off, and definitely jump into it. I'm just like, I think also my access to finding good Sentai like versions like in English subbed, I don't even know where to find those anymore, bro. Like all my places have been shut down. So I don't have access to like, hey, I could just come back here every Monday or something like that and find the newest episode, dubbed in English. So I just don't have access like that. I just haven't bothered to look also. But I want to check them out though. I hope you're enjoying it, Ram Jam. Let me know. Have you checked out any of it, Stuart?
For me, I really want to. The current issue is that the way I used to watch Tokusatsu was either torrenting or through Kiss Anime, where with Kiss Anime, I would always do it through my PlayStation 4. The problem is I don't currently have my PlayStation 4 hooked up, only my PlayStation 5, which doesn't have internet browser on it, only just streaming services. And I'm too afraid of going on that website on a computer because, oh my gosh, there are a lot of pop-ups. Exactly. So it's like, I just don't have a way of watching it, and I want to because King Ogre honestly looks really freaking sick.
Yeah, it looks pretty sick. So we'll see. And then Pexio says, have you seen the 1990s movie of Captain America and the 90s Flash series? What were your first impressions? I barely remember the 90 Captain America movie, like if glimpses, so I can't really tell you. The 90s Flash series is kind of the same. I'm trying to even remember if I watched it religiously. Like back in the 90s, I remember I was a big Lois and Clark fan, The Adventures of Superman. But I don't know if I ever got into the 90s Flash like that. Like I might have watched a couple episodes here and there. But they were just okay. I don't know if I wasn't hyped about it as a kid back in the 90s though. What about you, Stuart? What was the 90s Flash for you, or have you seen any of these?
I watched the pilot for the '90s Flash, but that's about it. Really good pilot. I just haven't really had the interest in watching the other show because unfortunately it is I feel like it's kind of in line with a lot of the Sam Raimi shows that he used to produce back in the day, where they would have such a great first episode that almost looked like it was a movie budget, and then the rest of the show would look incredibly cheap in comparison. And the Flash is kind of like one of those. You have a really cool looking first episode, and then at the start of episode 2 I started to notice, oh wow, this looks way different.
No, that sounds about right. Like hook, line, and sinker, just to get you into the series, and then it's like, oh, but here's our real budget. Haha, gotcha.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Dino Knight. My thoughts on Mystic Force is super underrated season of Power Rangers. Okay, here's his essay. First time we had a series about Rangers with magic. I actually thought that was pretty cool. At the time, Harry Potter was a huge craze. Oh, I see why they took advantage of it then. Being introduced to a magical realm was really cool, and seeing Udana as the White Mystic Ranger was badass. The opening scene of a great ancient war was just epic, immediately establishing the lore of the series. All 5 Rangers working at a record store was pretty dope. I actually thought it was pretty dope too. That the store was even where the team hung out every episode. I absolutely love how Daggeron, the Solaris Knight, was introduced. It being a princess and a frog type of thing was really cool, with Madison, the Blue Ranger, being the one to break Daggeron's curse of being trapped as a frog for centuries. The Mystic Force Rangers being the successor to the ancient magic warriors was pretty cool. First season where we had 2 sisters of the same team with Evita and Madison. Wait, they were sisters? I didn't. God, Jesus, I don't even remember that. The epic 3-parter Dark Wish was some of the best arcs in the franchise. Basically, the Rangers overusing their magic powers to make their lives easier, and their friend Genji being an actual genie was really cool, where the bad guys obtaining him and wishing that good magic never existed was the first time in the franchise where the Power Rangers were basically erased from existence through only for the magical realm and the city of the Magic Force Rangers. Not only was this such an epic multi-part story arc, having Korag helping out the Rangers was the foreshadowing of him ultimately revealed as Leon Bo, the original Red Mystic Wizard, and the father of Nick, the Red Ranger, was fantastic. While some people felt Nick being the sole focus of the series after this reveal, while understandable, wasn't really a deal breaker. Mystic Force was just a really fun season. The Rangers learning about different spell codes throughout the series was really cool. While Mystic Force didn't have a team up with any of the previous team of Rangers aside from the small cameo by Piggy and Xanders returning for Once a Ranger, the series itself got to be its own thing. Yes, the Mystic Force Rangers did return in suit for Legendary Fail. Of course, I had to mention Nick's Battleizer was absolutely cool in a 2-part series finale, where the first part had Nick being possessed by the main bad guy, the Master, and making him write his own father as the Purple Korag, with Leon Bao as the new Red Wolf Warrior, was just epic. To end off, Mystic Force was definitely such a very underrated series. So many great things to enjoy, and should still be on people's list as top 10 or top 20 Power Ranger season. What do you think, Stuart? Do you feel it's a very underrated season, or did you care for it, or what's your thoughts on Mystic Force?
I just think it's a very solid season. I don't know if I'd call it underrated, because I don't really see too many people dissing it or anything like that. I see a lot less people. It's not really very well talked about, but I don't really see too many negative thoughts about it. So I don't know if I call it underrated. Huh?
Kind of like a mid season.
Yeah, I think it's about rated as much as it should be, because I think it's a really fun season. Great designs, great villains. I just think the overall story, you could tell they were writing as they go not the story, sorry, the plot. The plot just felt very all over the place. Like they were writing as they were going, and it was really easy to tell because a lot of times things happen just because and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I did really like Korag's turn to the good side, and I also always love Linkara when he did his History of Power Rangers 4 Mystic Force. The joke he makes about Korag, I kind of agree with, where it's like he'd beat the Rangers in a fair fight, and yet he'd still be like, "There's no honor in destroying you this way." And it's like, what are you talking about? If there's any honorable way to kill the Power Rangers, that is, you discovered it right there. So besides that silliness, I always thought Mystic Force was a pretty solid season overall.
It is. Look, it is a season I want to go back. I feel like when I hit Mystic, like, so I really binged Power Rangers when I really got back into it. I was like, I'm going to start over. I'm going to start from the beginning and just kind of work my way. By the time I got to Mystic Force, man, I definitely felt like there was a level of burnout for me for sure. And so I probably didn't give this season its proper due because I'm a huge fan of Magic and Knights and stuff. And so I think for me going into it, I don't want to say I had super high expectations, but I just felt like it just came across as a little bit, I don't want to say bland, but just mid, and I think part of me just didn't pay as much attention to it as I certainly would have liked. But I was always a big fan of Vita. I thought she was so cool. I love the concept of the record store, and I actually didn't mind was it Nick as the main character. I actually didn't have a problem with him having as much of a focus towards the end, but so maybe definitely a season I definitely deserves a rewatch for me before I can give a fair assessment of the season, honestly. And then last but not least, Ricky Perez. What's up, Ricky?
It's kind of funny. Sorry, before we get into the last question, because what you bring up about Mystic Force is kind of how I feel about like Samurai. Is that I think what happened is I just kind of finished RPM because I was doing like my binge on Power Rangers too at that time, and I think by the time I did Power Rangers RPM, I was like, wow, I feel like I just saw the peak of like what it could possibly be. So I just I just gotten off the best season, and I was starting to also get kind of tired of watching it because I just watched so many seasons now in a row. So I think it was the combination of like I kind of went in with a little too high expectations after RPM, and I was getting a little burnt out at the same time when I started Samurai. I think that might have been why I just didn't like Samurai, or that might have been a factor at the very least.
No, bro. It's not bad. It's not a good season. So you didn't like Samurai for all the right reasons. Yeah, it's just a bad season. You didn't like Samurai for all the right reasons already. I would never tell you to go back and rewatch it. No, I'm just kidding. It probably deserves a rewatch for sure. It's just so copy and paste from Shinkinger, and I think for me, I definitely watched. I'm trying to remember if I watched Shinkinger first or if I watched Samurai first. I think I watched Samurai first. And then when I watch Shinkinger, the first episode starts and I'm like, I've seen this before. And I'm like, wait, this is Samurai. And then I went back and watched Samurai and it's like cut and paste, man. It's like cut and paste. So yeah, I mean, look, if you want to give Samurai a rewatch, there are definitely some appealing aspects to Samurai for sure. So to each its own, bro. But good luck. Good luck. And then Ricky Perez, do you think Superman Legacy will be filming in another location instead of California where they had the writer's strike? I don't know. I expect it to be in, I don't know. Maybe do they usually split production in several places? Like would they film in LA and then maybe go over to like Pinewood Studios in Georgia or anything like that?
Yeah, with big productions, like multiple locations isn't an uncommon thing, and I feel like for Superman, you would want to get as many like on location shots as you possibly could. So I would expect, and I hope that we get to see some, shots of New York City basically in the movie because, Metropolis, New York City was a huge inspiration for Metropolis in the comic books. In fact, even in the Christopher Reeve Superman movie, the Statue of Liberty is in Metropolis, not in New York City. So, I think that if you get some like on location shots of New York City, it'd be perfect for the movie. I think you're muted.
I am interested in how James Gunn might pull that off. Because we just talked about the James Gunn story like last week about him talking about his differences between the DCU and the MCU, and he was talking about just him building up this fantastical world. Of it's not New York or Chicago, it's Metropolis, Gotham, Bloodhaven, sort of thing, right? Like, so I do expect like elements of New York, but I do wonder if he's gonna go above and beyond. Like, I don't want it to just look like New York. Like, hey, New York, but it's called Metropolis. I definitely want that skyline to be very differently with CGI effects and stuff, but maybe take that skyscraper metropolitan sort of aspect. I don't know if I want it to look exactly like New York, because I think when we look at Gotham City, some of us we see, was it Chicago? It's usually like in or something like that. I'm hoping that they change it to make it not look exactly like New York, though.
What I kind of hope they do is for close-up shots, for shots where it's like, of like the characters on the ground, as long as it's not like the flying scenes, as long as it's not like an
I think he uses
establishing
like New
shot
York.
of New
Yeah,
York. But if it's like a close-up shot, I kind of want that like kind of in New York City. I just think on location looks better than in studio.
absolutely.
But yeah, I totally agree with you when it comes to like the shots of New York City, or the shots of Metropolis. I mean, I don't want it to look anything like New York City in those shots. Like, when we see the skyscrapers, these got to look like, because in the comic books, Metropolis was supposed to be like the city of the future. So these have to look like buildings that we don't see in the real world. If you really want this to be a fantasy DC world.
Yeah, so you might be right. I do think that could be certainly a great location that they can certainly try in regards to filming in New York if they want to go ahead and move production. Because I agree. I think shooting on locales always tend to look so much better to me than actual like set pieces and things like that. But something about that natural lighting and just makes the world feel bigger to me at times.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for that question, Ricky. Certainly appreciate it. But that will do it for all of our live viewer questions, y'all. So thank you guys so much for everybody that certainly submitted a live viewer question for us today. And we always appreciate it. And look, if you're still in the live chat, do us a big favor, man. Show us some support in any way that you can. If you haven't hit that like button yet, hit that like button. Feel free to share and share these videos and certainly subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so as of yet. And it is, in fact, July 4th weekend-ish, even though July 4th isn't until Tuesday. But however you guys certainly celebrate your July 4th. Be safe out there and definitely have a fantastic time and have a beer or two for me. Stuart, you got any other plans for July 4th, or is this weekend your July 4th?
Honestly, yeah, this weekend is kind of my July 4th, so I'm going to be working on July 4th.
Okay, awesome. What content do you have coming out this week for the channel?
So tomorrow I'm going to be doing 2 videos. I'm going to first be in the early afternoon. You will see my full Superman legacy, or sorry, Superman and Lois, 2 very different things. My full Superman and Lois review. It's going to be a review of the season finale, and it'll be a review of the season as a whole, because I have some thoughts kind of looking back of like elements that I may have thought worked in the beginning but didn't work as the show ended, or same vice versa. So I'll be exploring that as I talk about my overall thoughts on the season. The other thing I got coming up is my review of Strange New World. Since I have missed the first 3 episodes, I'm just going to kind of tackle them one episode at a time. It'll also be a live video, so if anyone in here is a Star Trek fan, definitely join me for that. I'm going to give my thoughts on the first 3 episodes, and then after that I'm going to try to be keeping up with them on a weekly basis. For Star Trek, just because of like when it comes out, it's going to be a little tricky for me to get it the day after, but it'll hopefully be within that week as the new episodes come out. And then also coming this month, I'm going to be reviewing My Adventures of Superman. So even though Superman and Lois has ended, we have My Adventures with Superman coming up. I wonder if the release date of that show was coincidental, or if they actually planned it to be released just a few weeks after Superman and Lois ended, because if that was planned, good on you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I can't wait to see My Adventures with Superman. I think that airs on Adult Swim on that particular day. Was it the 24th?
Yeah.
And I think the next day it's on streaming, I think on HBO Max, I believe.
I believe so. And what's so funny about that is when they announced that show moving to Adult Swim, it was after we had just assumed it got canceled from HBO Max. And so it was announced on April 1st. So I thought it was a joke for the longest time.
But I'm looking forward to it, guys. So Stuart will be reviewing the animated series, My Adventures with Superman, here on this channel beginning late July. So definitely look out for that. By that time, I think we should have our rebranding sort of in full swing. So I'm really excited for a lot of things that we have certainly going on here at Hero Report. But yeah, guys, we got a ton of content for you guys, especially tomorrow. Expect to see Stuart's face live for a lot of it. And definitely back on a weekly basis for a lot of us. Gotham Knights is ended. I got to see what I'm going to tackle next, man. I'm waiting for that Ahsoka to drop. I might actually do a review of Skull Island on Netflix. I don't know how many episodes it is, but I have been interested to check that out. And I think The Witcher might have dropped this week. I don't know if we're going to review Witcher season 3 or not. We haven't reviewed any of the other previous seasons, but trust me, we still got Twisted Metal upcoming for you guys also. So we definitely have some content waiting for you guys around the corner. But continue to subscribe to our channel and suggest it to everybody that you know. And Stuart, if people want to reach out to you on social media, where can they find you?
You can find me at TurboStew01 over on Twitter and on Instagram.
And guys, you can find us also here at A Plus Opinions, very active over on our main Facebook page. That's where we post all the news, trailers, posters throughout the week. If you want to be caught up on this, check us out over on Facebook. Very active also on Twitter and Instagram. And again, if you want to follow us on Spotify, there is a link down below as well. Feel free to be one of our followers if you like your audio versions, and maybe check out some video stuff over there as well. But that will wrap it up for us here today, guys. So until next time, do us a big favor. As always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.